All right, Corey, welcome to the studio. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. Thank you.
I feel like, yeah, we should have recorded the first 5 minutes when you first came in.
No, it's all good.
Oh.
I read that you said you had two cats in here. Where are the cats at?
Cats are hiding. Yeah, the first floor is like cold. Second floor is a little warmer, especially in the afternoon. So they chill up there, but they might make an appearance at some stage.
I'm super allergic, but that never stops me. I love cats so much. So I was excited when I saw you had two cats.
I did clean the studio a little bit, but it still does kind of catch up.
No worries.
Um, so look, we're going to get into your acting career and everything like that, but I always like to just start at the beginning. So where are you from?
I am from Montana, born and raised, which is funny because I was going through and looking at some of your old episodes, and the one that I happened to watch, I can't remember who you were talking to, but you were just rattling off places that you had been, and you said Bozeman, Montana, which is crazy because I went to school for a few years at Montana State University. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about Montana and what you thought about your time there.
So my first time I ever went to Montana, and I love this. We're starting the episode by just flipping it around. So the
We're interviewing you.
Yeah. So the first time I went to Montana was back in like 2016. So I started making this TV series called Extreme Treks, and I kind of did like the first season pilot, and I just did it in Tibet.
Okay.
And then it got a little bit of popularity, and then one of the broadcasters was like, "Would you do this like globally?" Because they didn't just want like 8 episodes in Tibet; they wanted like 8 episodes in 8 countries all around the world. And I was like, "Yeah, that's a dream."
Yeah.
So they're like, "Why don't you go do 8 episodes and we'll take it?" So one of my first episodes I filmed of Extreme Treks when I went international, which was season 2, was Glacier National Park,
Oh yeah.
and that's amazing. So the idea was is we were going to go to Glacier National Park in the winter
Mhm.
and snowshoe in the southeastern corner of the national park, or no, southwestern eastern corner of the national park, which is the Two Medicine Lake area.
Mhm.
So we did this like 7 or 8 day like snowshoe trek camping thing in Glacier National Park in the dead of like March winter, and there was no one there. It was spectacular.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then my last time I was in Montana was last summer when I went to go catch up with some friends, but we were in Bozeman
Oh,
and just enjoying the nature and the long days and the national parks. And we went through Yellowstone, and yeah, it's the best part of the United States. I think is like Wyoming and Montana. Just the nature and the lack of people and you got to grow up there.
I know, and I think that I used to say that it was an underrated part of the country, but it feels like nowadays lots of people are moving there, and it's gotten, the show Yellowstone, it's
Mhm.
kind of brought a lot of eyes to Montana, and but no, it is
Damn Kevin Costner.
Kevin. No, but it really is. I was very spoiled to get the opportunity to grow up there, and I grew up in Dillon, Montana. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
About 2,500 people. So very, very small, and I grew up on a cattle ranch.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, both
You
on a
grew up living
cowboy
that
ranch.
life.
I really did, and, most people don't when they see me, they don't think that because I don't give off, country vibes, but no, I did it all, man. I branded cattle, I rode a horse, I raised sheep. My mom was a vet growing up, so we had animals everywhere, geese, ducks, cats, dogs, horses, you name
Mm.
it, like, everything.
That's amazing to grow up around that many animals on a ranch, like
Yeah.
out with that nature. You're living you grew up living my retirement life.
Yeah. We gotta get you a ranch, man.
Well,
Some cows.
yeah, prices are going up these days.
They are. They are. No, but it was a very rural area. Montana as a whole is a very conservative place.
Mhm.
So, it didn't seem to be like an artistic hub. Growing up, I was always interested in arts, and it never felt like I could have stayed there to make a life in the arts. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that are artists in Montana that do just fine, but I wanted to be an actor, and I didn't know too many people that lived there full time and worked as actors. There's a pretty big, theater company, or the Montana Shakespeare in the Parks. Have you ever heard of that
No,
that
no.
that company? So, as the name implies, it's this company based out of Montana, and they travel around the US doing Shakespeare plays outdoors in the summer. Um,
Sounds
it's like
beautiful.
yeah, it's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
But, that was one of the only, like, large theater organizations that could sustain artists, and, yeah, so I always kind of felt like I think I need to leave Montana in order to grow and to become an artist and and I always wanted to go experience other places because places like where I grew up, Dillon, Montana, there's countless places like that in the US. Very small, very isolated, like kind of insulated places where,
Insulated from the garbage.
yeah, insulated from so many different things.
Chaos. Yeah.
The good, the bad, everything. And that place kind of feels like it's stuck in the 90s. I've gone back not too often, but in the last few years, and things have stayed the same.
Yeah.
Nothing much changes in places like that. So
That's special though.
there is something to be said about that. Yeah.
I feel like everywhere else is just changing too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not in the right ways. Like it's just like chaos, right?
Yeah. There has not been a lot of handholds to grab onto at the last my whole life, honestly, it's felt like. And I don't know. I've talked to my parents and older generations, and they just say, "We feel bad for you guys." Like, there's been so many like once in a lifetime things happen that have changed the landscape of our country and politics and blah blah blah. We don't need to get into that, but
Yeah.
there's been a lot of craziness, not a whole lot of stability,
No.
especially in the last 5 years, man. I mean, you were affected by it just as much as everyone else, I imagine. You had to put all your stuff on hold, I saw, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't made full length television since 2020. So yeah, it's still been like I do YouTube videos now. I do my podcast and stuff like that. But broadcast TV, like that whole genre and that whole like ecosystem of adventure or travel, like TV has gone elsewhere. Like it's all gone to YouTube actually.
And just when you think that like streaming was kind of a stable situation, now that doesn't feel like it's stable anymore. It's so bizarre. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with media the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, and especially with Netflix buying Warner's Brothers and stuff like that. It's like how is that consolidation? Because
Maybe Paramount's going to get in there, man. We don't know. They keep trying.
keep trying. But have you seen have you seen the compensation for the executives of Warner Brothers? So they get a bit of cash, but then they get a huge amount of stock, right?
Mhm.
And of course, no one wants Paramount stock, but everyone wants Netflix stock
Yeah.
because that's like, it's I guess the future is going to be streaming and that's it. So all these executives are holding out because they want Netflix stock instead of Paramount stock, and I think that's the real difference.
That makes sense. You got to follow the money, man.
Got to follow the money. Okay, so walk me through this. You grew up in Dillon, Montana, a city of 2,500 people. You grew up on a ranch. You got animals all around you. You're branding cattle, right? What are you doing in high school in Dillon, Montana that makes you think like, I want to be an actor?
Definitely. That's a great question. That makes sense. You've asked that question.
Because you could have been a cowboy. Like you could have been a cowboy and like live that life.
And so many people I knew that I grew up with have stayed in that
Mhm.
area, and that's what they're doing. They work for their family's ranches. They work in agriculture.
Mhm.
You know, I never wanted to do that. I have an older brother. You ask him, he has the same dream as you. He wants to end up on a ranch
Yeah.
with animals. And
The winter looks rough, but that July, August, September, that looks fucking perfect.
money, yeah. No, the winter keeps a lot of people out because
Yeah.
it gets pretty damn cold. Can I swear?
Oh yeah, for sure, no problem.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yes.
No. So if you wanted to go back even further, so I'm very blessed that there's this one company in Montana. It's called Missoula Children's Theater. Have you heard of that?
No. You're educating me.
There's this company, and what they do, they take recent graduates from the University of Montana's theater program, and other people can work there too, but I think they're feeder programs usually from that theater program. Anyhow, they take two people and they load all of the stuff for a children's play into a truck, and they drive around all these towns in the western part of the US. I think they go all over the US actually. And they have a week in each town to cast and direct and put up this like children's play. And it's usually like fairy tale shows like Treasure Island, Little Mermaid, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, things like that.
And they do the whole production, casting and
Yeah.
and rehearsals and presentation all in a week, and then they move on.
They'll get there on a Sunday. That Monday they'll have their auditions or whatever, and the age group is like 5 to 18 roughly.
Okay.
And they'll have auditions, and then they'll cast it that night. They'll read a list of names. Hey, if your name wasn't called, go home. And then they start that night with rehearsals. They have the whole week, and then on Saturday they do 2 shows. And they did that every year. And I think my parents noticed that I needed an outlet. I needed something to do. I was pretty off the wall,
Mhm.
lots of energy. Couldn't keep me still, basically. And they're like, we need to put Corey somewhere to use this energy.
But with all that nature and branding cattle and being like living on a ranch, you still needed an outlet for energy. Because I would like if you grew up in the city, and you've got a small small apartment with a bunch of brothers and sisters and parents. Okay, you're bundled up, but you're in Montana. You've got endless nature, and you were still bouncing off the walls.
Well, after this conversation, I'm going to call my mom. It's like, what were the other reasons you guys put me into these plays?
I wish we could dial her in right now.
Tracy. No, but I was always interested in that sort of stuff. And my family, no one else in my family is really artistically inclined. No musicians, no actors, no, what have you. They're all, blue collar working people. And I think my family always got a kick out of me entertaining them, doing wacky things. I would get up in front of people, no problem, and do whatever. And they thought that was unusual. And they're like, that's not really how our family does things. So I was like, maybe he'll like this. So anyhow, I did those plays almost every single year. And I was thinking about it last night in preparation for this podcast. And I remember distinctly one year I didn't get cast. And every single, I had no experience being in plays. I didn't know how many no's you have to go through in the auditioning world. Okay. I had no frame of reference. So I just thought if you showed up, you're going to be in this play. I remember not getting it. And I asked my mom, I was like, they didn't say my name. I was like probably 9. She's like, you didn't get cast. I was like, what? Why? Why would they put me in it? And it was Snow White. I remember the play I didn't get into. But anyhow.
How'd you bounce back?
Oh my.
At 9.
Drugs and alcohol, man. No. No, so that formed my basis of acting. Those are the first plays I did when I was younger, and they were so fun. And
So whenever that Missoula Children's Theater came into Bozeman, or Dillon, you would go and cast,
audition, and I'd do it, yeah.
and then they would go on to the next town, and then you'd wait for the next year to come by, and then so before you got into high school, that was like all that was available.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all I did. There is a small university in Dillon, University of Montana Western, and I think their enrollment is like 1,000, maybe 1,500. So when school's not in session, the town just dries up. But they didn't have a theater program, but they ran plays, and I got to know the lady that ran the acting. Wasn't even a department. They would do plays every now and then, and she saw me in one of these Missoula Children's Theater things, and she had asked me to go audition for productions that they put on. I was in Tom Sawyer. I remember when I was little, and that was a whole lot of fun. But just one-off tiny things once a year maybe, and I never thought that it was what I wanted to do for my life or what I wanted to pursue.
But you enjoyed it.
I loved it, yeah. And the reasons for me wanting to do it has always changed throughout my life, just as I imagine. I could be wrong, but I imagine for you, the reasonings behind why you wanted to do some of the things you wanted to do, even though you're doing the same thing throughout time, the reasonings for why you want to do it might change. And
yeah, the motivations change, the economics change, the world changes. I've had like a lot of different career shifts and like adjustments that I've had. Like I started off as a photographer, like a photojournalist working for like the New York Times covering China, and then that didn't become the economic viability of that career changed massively around 2008, 2009, 2010. And because of that, I could no longer really make a great living. So that's why I moved into television. And then since COVID, I've moved into podcasting. So it's been like, it's been these like strange progressions of having to shift and make adjustments. Yeah. But still being creative and still trying to tell stories.
Yeah. So I think the reasons for me wanting to do it when I was little was, I can make my family laugh. It was really, I could just go do that. I could be the entertainment for them, and any sort of reaction I could get out of them, was worthwhile for me. And then once I got into high school.
And that was also high school in Dillon?
I did them in high school. Once you got older, though, it wasn't the cool thing to do because a lot of the people in these shows were like little kids. So it's not really that cool when you're 17, 18 to be in these. But the very last year of eligibility when I could have done it, my friend and I that used to do it when we were little, we were like, let's go in there and let's do one last show. Shout out Kieran. We did one last show together. And that was really special. But there wasn't any high school productions I could have done. Our high school didn't have theater shows that they put on.
So. Oh wow, that's terrible. That's too bad.
And that I think kind of speaks to where that community placed its importance on things. The arts weren't that important. Now, if you want to talk about football, yeah, if you want to talk about hunting, you want to talk about, um, uh, cowboying,
Yeah.
those things were important. But those were never the things that I was interested
Mm.
in, and because of that, and I think for other reasons, which I'm still trying to figure out as an adult, I I I never felt comfortable. I never felt, like I fit in. I always felt like wrong and out of place for that area where I grew up.
In 20 years from now, you're a therapist and you were gonna have a field day on that.
I listen, if you got a good one, you better let me know.
It's like, "Why? Why did I feel so, like, awkward or out of place?"
God, yeah. I don't wanna be talking about that when I'm 50, but I might be. I might be there. Anyhow, I was drawn more towards art and stuff, and,
Was moving to another city or having the opportunity to, like, go to a bigger city, like, did you have family in other like, was that ever, like, even a conversation, or was it just like, "Well, we live in Dillon and you live in Dillon, and that's the way it's gonna be?"
my family is originally from, Auburn, California, which is up near Sacramento,
Mhm.
and they moved to Montana when when my brother was born. He's a few years older than me, and so I grew up my whole life there, but they're all from California. So they had lived other places,
Mhm.
and they were never like, "We're staying here. You have to stay here," or like, "Don't leave."
Mhm.
Uh, they I have the greatest parents on earth, I swear to God, and they were very much like, "You do whatever makes you happy, wherever you wanna go, send it."
Mhm.
So, but I was very timid when I was coming out of high school. I didn't wanna go too far. I didn't want to make too big of a change, too big of a risk. I don't know. I was just scared of everything.
Mhm.
And, I went to MSU, Montana State University in Bozeman, which is about 2 hours away from where I grew up, and, studied psychology. I didn't even study theater, which is what I was interested in and what I liked doing, but I didn't think it was a viable thing to do. It wasn't safe, wasn't smart.
So you're already thinking about, like, "How am I gonna make a living when I grow up?"
I had already counted myself out from making a living doing it. I was always like, "It's not gonna happen." Like, that's something that only privileged people can go do because
Mhm.
I need to work, I need to make money, and I studied psychology, which is like, if anybody knows anything about that, it's not a lucrative field either necessarily, so.
It's great for being an actor, though, because, I mean, like, you get to really dive into characters and stuff like that.
Right, I'm so glad you said this because everybody says that to me. Everybody I talk to,
Mhm.
I was like, "I have a psychology degree and a B.F.A in acting," and they're like, "The psychology degree? That must have really helped you." It doesn't, man, I'm
Mhm.
telling you.
0.
I don't it hasn't helped me, maybe for some people.
Mhm.
I just think that people that are interested in acting, they're already inherently interested in how people behave and
Mhm.
act, and the fact that I studied psychology, yeah, I learned, a thing or 2 about mental disorders and methods of treatment and, like, maybe basic, like, therapy principles and stuff, I don't know, but that has never helped me in my acting, I don't think.
Okay.
So, it's so funny, everyone says that to me, the amount of times I've been told, "That's gotta help you in your acting."
No.
I'm telling you right now, it does not. It has not helped me.
'Cause you think, like, that would bring more empathy to you understanding a character because you're trying to understand other people and what they're going through, in their mental state, in their daily lives and things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, acting, I think, is just having empathy because you really have to, like, understand what other people are going through and then put yourself in that place.
Mhm.
I mean, like, if you don't have any empathy and you just push through the world like it's yours and no one else matters, I don't think you can really put yourself in someone else's skin.
Yeah, you have to be willing to set aside your thoughts and feelings and beliefs and step into somebody else's. I mean, I feel like that's exactly what acting is. I think trying to take on someone else's point of view and perspective. Um,
So even so, did you ever think about going out of state for university, or was it just like Bozeman done, like Montana State? You didn't think about going to UCLA or USC or like going into like a film program or an acting program?
I honestly didn't,
Yeah.
not at that time, because I was too scared.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate. My family helped pay for my education. So, and I think if I had to spend all of my money on getting an education, I would have. I think I honestly might have risked it a little more and went somewhere else. But because it didn't feel like my money, I was like, I don't want to let my parents down by doing something that I think is going to not not make a lot of money. I don't know. I don't. I think back on those times and the decisions I made leaving high school. I'm like, why didn't I? I should have. I should have left and like moved to LA or even like auditioned or submitted to, the big acting schools that you can name, just to see what I could have done. But things happened the way they did and yeah, so
Yeah. It's wild. Like, I think a lot of the universities in the United States, like, I think a lot of them have, decent, like, there's a few schools that have great filmmaking schools if you want to be a director or producer or writer or things like
yeah.
that, or one of the technical or editor, like USC or NYU. But as far as like film acting,
Mhm.
there's not really a lot of programs in the United States. Like a lot of the universities have like theater programs and stuff like that. But if you want to be on TV or make movies, like, I think the best thing you can do is just come to this town, like, when you're 18 and just grind it out with everyone else, and then after a few years, if you still got it in you, you'll probably get some work.
So the funny thing is when I went to Montana State University, I was dating a girl at the time that was in their film department. And Montana State University had a very, I don't know how it's doing now, but they had pre-COVID had a very good film department. And the weird thing is they didn't have an acting department. And I was like, "What?" And I always question people. I was like, "Why don't you guys have a theater program where you can pull from actors to put into your projects?"
That makes sense.
Never got a good answer. And I think it's because the University of Montana, which is in Missoula, those are the 2 big schools in the state. And the University of Montana has a theater program that's, like, pretty, I don't know if prestigious is the word, but they're like there must be some do not compete clause between the universities or something. I'm not sure, but they had a great film program, and a lot of my early film experience came from me acting in all of these senior thesis films at Montana State University.
That's nice.
I was in so many that the department head told all the students, he knew me by name. He was like, Stop putting Corey in your shorts because he has his own degree and I don't want to disrupt his education because I was a psych major at that time.
Mhm.
So he literally told them to stop putting Corey in these things because the bar was kind of low because they didn't have anyone that had any acting experience or knew how to act. Not that I was the greatest at that time by any means, but
You were just up for it.
I was up for it. I got along with lots of people. I loved being on set. I loved the process. I got to learn. I got an education in filmmaking from all of these people that were learning themselves.
Mhm.
And I didn't it wasn't my courses. I just that's what I did on the weekends. I'd go hang out on these film sets and be in these people's production stuff and it was so much fun. Those are some of my favorite days on this earth was honestly those years spent working on all those films and stuff. That was so much fun.
That would have been epic. Like, imagine there's like 100 kids in this film school, right? And they all have to come up with a short and they all pick you to be their lead actor. And then it's like they have to figure out like 100 different ways to hide you, like different wardrobe, different mustache, different hair, that one ages you, one younger, like another person makes you bald. So at least the teacher doesn't know that everyone's just milking the same actor.
Well, to an extent, that's kind of what they did. Like,
It's
if
amazing.
you put glasses on me, there, we got to make you look different because
Yeah.
you were in so and so's
Mm.
short, and like you look the same. So we got to cut your hair, do something. No,
Yeah.
it literally turned into something like that.
You were in demand.
But there was no one else, man. I was the only one. I was the only one there. But then other people started to come on the scene, and uh, yeah, and that's around the time that I left. So I transferred. I left schools because a bunch of stuff happened, and I realized, like, I kinda had this, like, moment, this, like, waking up moment where I was like, "I what am I doing? I feel like I'm wasting time." I have known in my heart that I want to be a performer, that I want to study acting, and I had never taken classes formally. It's all been experiential learning, and so I made the decision. My grandparents had moved to Southern Oregon, Ashland, Oregon, if you've ever been there.
I've been to Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's up north, but it's near the border of
Mm.
California and Oregon
I've probably driven through it. Beautiful mountains.
on I-5. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. That's a stunning drive, actually. I just did that like a couple weeks ago. I went from Sacramento to Eugene, Oregon on the 5. Really pretty.
The fall there is gorgeous.
Mm.
Lots of pretty colors, and, it rains a lot in the winter, but anyhow, it's still really beautiful there. But my grandparents lived up there, and there's a very big regional theater company, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and that's in Ashland. And my grandparents took me there when I was little, and I remember watching plays there just thinking, "This is insane." Like, the size, the scope, the production itself was just unbelievable. I still haven't seen a whole lot of things like it. On the West Coast, it's the best theater you can go see.
Really, the Oregon Shakespeare
Or
Company
the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, yeah.
Festival.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Massive, massive operation, and it's gone through some issues in the last 10 years because of this and that. COVID didn't help anybody with anything.
Hmm.
But they have 3 massive they have a Elizabethan theater that's based on, like, the old Globe Theater. They have a black box, and they have a proscenium, so it's big campus. And I was like, "That would be cool to work there. That would be awesome." And they had a really good theater program at the university in that town, in Ashland,
Mhm.
Southern Oregon University. So I transferred schools. I was almost done with my psychology degree, left.
So you were in your 4th year, and you're just like, "I gotta get out of here?"
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't wanna put a bummer on the episode or anything,
Sure.
but I had one of my best friends I grew up with, passed away,
Mhm.
and his death kinda made me think about where I've been putting my energy
Mhm.
and how I've been living my life and all these things, and I think that's a very common thing that happens to people if they lose someone that's close to them or something really horrible happens, you kinda take inventory of what you've been doing, how you've been living your life,
Mhm.
and I was like, "I know that I wanna go do that, so why am I waiting? Like, I could die tomorrow. We all could die tomorrow."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
and I just didn't wanna waste any more time. So I was like, "This would be a good jumping off point. My family's in the area if I crash and burn, whatever." And I moved on a whim. I signed up for school, and little did I know they had a B.F.A, like a performance intensive, track at their theater school, and it's very they modeled it very much like a conservatory. I didn't really know I didn't do my research 'cause, why would you when you're moving across the country? Like, a couple days before their audition for that track, I get an email, and I was like, "Hmm, yeah, that's what I'm here to do." So I show up, prepare stuff, do it. I showed up late, I remember, because I couldn't find where the audition room was at. I showed up late, and the head of the acting department saw me come in breathless, like, "Oh my god, I just moved here, like, I didn't know where anything's at." And the look she gave me, like, froze my blood. I was like, "Oh, damn." And she's like, "Okay, you get to go last because
Mm.
you got here at late." I'm like, "That's fair enough." Get through the whole thing, and
What'd you do for your audition?
oh my god, I can't even remember. We had to sing a song, and we had to do a monologue. Don't remember the monologue, but before I left Montana, I was in a musical, so I sang a song from that musical, and because I am very interested in music, and I was in a rock band in high school.
Yeah, I read that in your bio. I was gonna ask you, like, what how, where did the music come from? But
It that was just I've always loved music, and I love rock, and when I was younger, I learned guitar and formed a little group when I was in high school, and we played at really shitty bars and, wrote our own songs and stuff, and it was great. That was a great pastime too, but that kinda I cut my teeth on that, and then once I got into theater, anytime they had a musical in college, I was in it because there's not many I'm a tenor in vocal range, and I think lots of
tenor is the deep one, right?
no, tenor's the highest
Okay.
male vocal range, and I think there's so many parts written for tenors that are like my type, so I I was in a lot of them, and, so, yeah, I sang a song from that, and I got in, and the rest is kinda history. It was a very, very difficult 2-year program. It was 16 of us made the final cut, and
There's only 16 kids that made that program.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The acting cohort, yeah,
Mhm.
and I think there was, I don't know, we had a whole semester that was an audition to get into it. So, we had the initial audition, then if you got into that group, I think there was, 30 they had 2 different groups of 32, I think, and then the whole semester, you took the intro classes to the acting intensive, and then after that, they halved it again, and then so I coulda wasted a whole semester there, trying to get into this program and not gotten in. Thankfully, I
like
did.
all the other kids. Like, can you imagine? Like, you get into the theater, like, fine arts degree that you want, and then a semester in, you get cut.
Yeah, that would have been brutal, and I thank my lucky stars that that's not happened,
Yeah.
but, I made sure it didn't happen because I worked my ass off, and I didn't l I couldn't go back to Montana. I already moved myself out there.
Yeah.
It was a must-win situation, so I had to dig my heels in.
That's amazing though. So you stepped up. So in the end, you did so you kind of went 3.5, almost 4 years in
Mm,
the psychiatry route,
yeah.
and then you had that tragic passing of your friend, reevaluated your time, and then went to Southern Oregon and crushed it.
Yeah, and I was almost done with my psych degree, and, when I got accepted to the B.F.A acting program, the head of the department said, "This is your main focus. You cannot do anything else." And I looked at the numbers and I said about a year into it, I said, "Listen, I'm like 12 credits away from finishing my psych degree. Like, can I do will you allow me to go?" And I was taking the BFA track, I was taking like 22 credits a semester, which is a lot. I think the norm average load was like 16 or something like that.
Per semester. Is that
Ye-
like 16 different, like, I went to school in Canada, it's, maybe a little bit different. So are you taking, like, 16 classes in one, like, 3-month semester?
No, it wasn't 16 classes. It was, I think each class, depending on what they weighted it, was like, a really intense class that met twice a week. I think it was 4 credits. And
Okay,
then
that's interesting.
like a less intense class that met once a week was either 3 or 2 credits. It's a weird system the way they weight it, but I think most university systems, like a full load is like 16, which is like 3 or 4 classes a week.
Mhm.
And I was doing 5, I think, plus the psychology route, which I wasn't supposed to do. And I remember signing up to finish it, and the head of our acting department she was not happy. She was very upset with me. She's like, "This is supposed to be your focus?" I'm like, "Listen, I gotta get this other degree because I was so close. And what if this whole acting thing doesn't work out? Like, I need something to fall back on." So, anyhow, that all worked out, and I got both of my degrees. And another reason why I wanted to go to school there is because they had a feeder program into the Oregon Shakespeare Festival.
Oh, that's
Int
perfect.
Yeah, and I worked really hard. That audition process was really tough. We spent we spent the last basically the last year of our training getting ready to go do that. And,
So the university fine arts program for the acting spent time at the university helping you prepare to do your audition for the Shakespeare Company.
yeah, in a way, it wasn't like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do for the audition." It was like we had sections of our training that would lend itself to the audition. Like, we had a whole semester where we just did Shakespeare,
Mhm.
and because the majority of their shows at the festival are Shakespeare.
So what's your favorite Shakespeare play?
My favorite Shakespeare play is A Winter's Tale.
Mhm.
Do you have one?
I mean, it's just I mean, I took a few Shakespeare, we read Shakespeare in high school. I did a few things in university where I read some books. I'm at the end of the day, Hamlet still speaks,
Yeah.
uh, you know, the strongest to me, just because I think that's such a dynamic story. But fuck, there's so many great plays that he wrote, like, but I'm just wondering, like, so you're sitting in Southern Oregon, and you're doing this Masters of Fine Arts acting. Like, at any moment, are you thinking like, I got to get to New York, or it's time to go to LA? Or were you just like, no, this Shakespeare Company is actually like where it's at? Like, I'm just trying to figure out like where your brain is as like a 23-year-old
Yeah.
kid trying to like find his path in acting.
Yeah, all great questions. Just I did not have as clear and solid, like, plans as I probably should have, and it wasn't like I need to get into the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and this is where I'm gonna work forever, and that's it. Like, I never thought those things. All the goal that I had was I want to act in any capacity, and you mentioned earlier that there's no film acting, programs, or, like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of, like, schools that teach, like, film acting and things like that. And in my mind, and I've had many teachers echo this sentiment, I do not see a difference. There is a difference between stage acting and TV and film acting, obviously, because of the medium itself and the way it's set up. But but the fundamentals of it, I do not think are the same. Or I'm sorry, I do not think there's a difference.
Mhm.
And in my mind, when I was getting this training, I was like, this training is going to allow me to, I can go be in films if I want to. I can be in TV if I want to. The stage is there. Um, so I wanted to be in whatever. I wasn't too picky on, you know, I'm going to be a theater actor. That is what's coming. No, I didn't have any of those sorts of convictions. I just wanted to continue doing it in any capacity, and I was just as happy studying it as I was performing it. And um,
Was there anyone at the in the university that had like bona fide acting chops? Like, I'm just curious also too, because when kids go to like when kids grow up in New York or kids grow up in LA or they come from families with other actors, there's always people that you can reach out to, be like, how'd you do that? And like, there's always mentors and mentees and things like that. And like, maybe a friend of the family, knows an actor that you can sit down, have lunch with, and ask like 1,000 questions about how they got started in the industry. Because this is before podcasts too. Like for the most part, like
yeah,
podcasts, really didn't explode, exponentially till kind of after like when COVID kind of kicked off. But like here you are, like trying to figure out how to make a living, you know, doing this craft that you're so passionate about. But there's really like, was there anyone around you that could like guide you and be like, look, this is how brutal this industry is, or this is what you need to do, and theater is great if you stay in Southern Oregon, but if you want to be in films, you need to go here. Like, did anyone ever, I mean, was there a guidance counselor or anything that could like kind of set you on a different path or help you figure out what you really wanted to do?
our department head, our head of acting, in that program did a really good job of giving us expectations and letting us know our routes. I remember we had a class, a business of acting class.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we talked about, the ins and outs of what's a manager, what's an agent, how do you get one, where should you live, how do you audition, like what's the process of making a show and how you get cast and blah blah blah. So we covered a lot of this stuff, and the sentiment that was echoed to me and many of my classmates, and this is a very common thing to hear for actors, is the phrase, "If you can do something else, you should do something else."
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've heard that so many times.
So you do 2 years for your master's of fine arts,
Yeah, and on the
and
way
then
out the door,
you should really be doing something else.
I heard that so many times from her. She's like, "Listen,
Yeah.
I remember it," and this is the exact same message. One of my first classes, I had to do this scene with this girl, and I had to kiss her or do something intimate, and I was like, this makes me uncomfortable to do this, and I go to see my teacher, my acting teacher, in her office hours. I was like, "This makes me uncomfortable. What should I do? What can I do?"
Mhm.
She's like,
Did you ask the actress like, "Hey, does this also make you feel uncomfortable?"
I remember my teacher looking at me, and she's like, "Maybe you don't wanna be an actor if that makes you uncomfortable." I was like, "Hmm." I thought about it.
Yeah.
Maybe she was right.
Yeah.
So
Well, people are paranoid of intimacy scenes. Like, unless you're like a sexual predator, it should make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, because I mean, there's plenty of them in this town, and like it's widely distributed information, right, about all these
oh, yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
But to have respect for another human being that you actually have to do an intimacy scene with, who you actually aren't intimate with in your normal life, is actually really hard, I think.
Yeah, and
Sorry, the second I grew up in the Harvey Weinstein area, so I just throw out words like sexual predator effortlessly.
no, those are all, like, you nailed it, man. There's some dark shit going on in there, but I think the point of what she was trying to get at was that, like, if I really wanna do this, if I want to be an actor, I need to be able to set my shit aside and, like, think about it from the character's point of view. Like, this person is not uncomfortable doing what they're doing. They have their own motivations. They have their own relationship with that person. It's not you doing it. It's who your character is. And um, so in that vein, no, I love that. If you could do anything else, do it. And it sounds really harsh, right? That sounds like don't do it.
Mhm.
I don't think that is what is meant by that. I think the phrase, if you can do something else, you should, is almost like a not a mothering, but a preventative, a protective kind of statement about it's going to hurt when you pursue this. You get rejected so much. Doesn't even matter how good you are. Doesn't You could be the most talented, best looking, most well-connected, you're gonna get told no all the fucking time.
And that's sugarcoating it.
Yeah, and that's I mean,
It's way darker than that.
yeah, s and you have to accept that. You have to know that that's what's going to happen, and you need to make sure that your motivations for wanting to do it are in the right place. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out and you're gonna hate yourself and you're gonna hate everybody else because, you know, why do you think, Ryan? Let me ask you this. Why do you think people would wanna be an actor? Why do you think people set out to do it?
Okay, well, I think
Some of the reasons.
there's two paths on this. I think especially like young people today, like they just want to be famous and not work a real job.
Mhm.
So if you pull, I was just reading this the other day. Like if you pull high school kids nowadays, like the number one job that they all want to do is be like YouTube influencers or actors, and it's just because they see people on the red carpet and they think, oh, this is going to be a great life and I'll be famous and be rich and people will love me. And that's, and but they don't. And then there's people like you where you grow up in this environment that's pushing you in one direction, but then you're like, oh my God, I have all this stuff inside me that needs to come out. And I'm not getting to do any of this stuff in my normal life in Dillon, Montana, but I have all this creative spirit that I need to share with the world. And I need to go find a place to do that. So I think like in a lot of ways you came at it from like a super kind of wholesome, following your real passions, even though you didn't have a direct path to it. And I think that's, a really beautiful story versus, some spoiled rich kid that grows up in Beverly Hills that's like, I just want to be an actor so that I can, be famous and whatever. So I feel like there's kind of two paths, but I love the path you came on. Like that's the better story.
Yeah. The nepo babies, they're like, I wanted to be a musician, but that didn't work out, so I'll just be an actor because I got familial connections and stuff.
Yeah.
No, but the the people that burn out and like you I don't think you can sustain it if your heart's not really in the right place.
Nope. Anything really.
Yeah, I have a hard time sustaining it, and I'm I'm pretty sure I'm not 100%, but I'm 99% sure I'm doing it for the right reasons, and it's for a lot of the reasons that you said, and like I said, it's changed throughout my life. So, but nowadays, I I I don't have to be in a new Netflix series or to be in a film for it to be something that I enjoy doing. I'm in class consistently. That's where I met Bianca and Delara,
Hmm.
who very graciously introduced us.
I had a great chat with them. They're hilarious.
They're the best.
Yeah.
They're awesome to be around.
Yeah.
Very talented too.
Mm.
They very inspiring to me. What were we talking about?
Just dealing with the rejection, keeping your heart in it. Yeah.
Like so in order to get to keep going, even though you get told no. I mean, I can't think of any other really industry or business or job that you could do where that is the norm. Like you're constantly getting told no. Even some of the most like rigorous and difficult things that you can try to go do, like, I don't know, to become a doctor or a heart surgeon or to become a high powered lawyer or things that are very difficult to do well. Like there's still a track that you can follow. And if you put the work in and if you're smart and you do all the right things, there is somewhere to go with entertainment.
Yeah. You're fucked.
You're fa you can do everything right, and still it's not fair,
Mhm.
but this is the way it is. You could still end up with nothing. In my case, even if that happens and no opportunities ever come and I never get to go anywhere and the world doesn't get to see me, I don't care. What I've gotten from it is and what I will continue to get from it is way more important than the fleeting things that can be gained from success in this industry. And those sorts of things are me learning new things about myself, me expanding my perception about just what it is to be a human and what other people feel and how other people can get affected by things like and and getting to explore all these different sort of lives that
Mhm.
I get to through characters and plays and films and stuff. So that is the beauty of it that I get out of it, and that's not really something that can be told no to.
Yeah. You got to fall in love with the grind.
Yeah, the process, enjoying the process of it rather than the results of it. And I wasn't always that way. I think once I left my training, I was very results oriented. I was like, people need to see me in things. I need to have something to show to people. I need
Mhm.
to have credits,
Mhm.
which don't get me wrong, I'd love those. I'd still love those.
I need to have something on my IMDb page.
Yeah, my grandma needs to see something on there soon,
Right?
you know, she's not getting any younger. But, no, I the last few years and I've had great teachers and great mentors who have always steered me in the right direction. I'm very fortunate in that sense. I know some people that have had some bad teachers and some people that have given them awful advice or made them feel awful about themselves and their art. I'm very fortunate that and I'm very fortunate that no one ever said those sorts of things to me, including my family. I know some people who have unsupportive family members.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, if I had unsupportive if my parents were like, "Bud, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get out, pull out now."
Mm.
I don't know if I could have continued to do what I'm doing, but all my teachers, all my friends, all my family, they've
Mhm.
given me nothing but support, which is I think rare, and I'm very, very grateful for. So,
Yeah, it's not an easy journey, and like you said, you do have to kind of come to terms with the word no,
yeah,
and then still wake up every day and do it again.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really brutal. You're right. There's no career path. There's no guaranteed career path. And anyone who does make it and and becomes a quote unquote like working actor, every single person does it in a different way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all, and a really another beautiful one-liner that my teachers told me when I was in Oregon is that if anyone tells you that they know how to do it, they're lying, and I've always kinda had that in the back of my head because when you're trying to get a hold on what the entertainment industry is and how to become an actor, and you wanna find out, well, who has the answers to
Mhm.
this? I'm asking everybody, no one has the answers. Well, like, what is the answer? People want to be self-assured and they want to be, "Hey, you need to do this. You just need to, you need to go work with this person. You need to know you need to take this class. You need to blah, blah, blah." And like, there is no like surefire path.
Mhm.
There just isn't. And so many people have found their way through so many different avenues. And I'm still trying to figure out what that is for me.
Well, look, I can tell you I'm in my mid 40s, and anytime you sit down with someone and they start telling you for certain how things really work, run.
Yeah.
Because the only thing in this world that is certain is the fact that things are changing
Yeah.
all the time. And anyone who has any certainty about anything is lying through their fucking teeth because like especially in the entertainment world, there's no rhyme or reason to the way anything happens, and all you can do is like I really think I've started believing this a lot too, actually, since I've moved here, is like the more kind of good karma you put out into the world and the better you treat people, like that starts to come back to you, I think, in various ways. I really do believe that. Like, you know, the more good energy you put out into the world, the more good stuff comes back to you. And I think it's kind of reciprocal in that way. But yeah, these people who pontificate about the certainty of how to do things are just completely full of shit. Because you just have to fucking grind and work and pray.
Yeah. And it's kind of dangerous telling younger people surefire ways to do things because people are so not gullible, but they're so ready to listen to those who they think know more than them, you
Well,
know?
they're afraid, they're insecure, you know, and the sad thing is that a lot of those people who offer that kind of certainty, they're trying to sell you something. So they're trying to sell you
Yes.
headshots, or they're trying to sell you a service, or come train at my school or whatever. It's like, you need to be an actor. I've got this. I know exactly how it's going to work for you. You got to come train with me for 3 nights a week or whatever, and then
Yeah.
we're going to get you these auditions, and this is the path forward. And then 6 months in, you've been listening to this fucking idiot, and you know your head's in totally the wrong place. Like I think those people are trying to sell you up the river.
And there's plenty of those out here.
Oh my god, it's half of LA is that.
Yeah. Because they gotta make money somehow.
Yeah, just preying on fucking innocent, wide-eyed people coming here trying to make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beware.
Okay, so you graduate your MA and you got into the Shakespeare Company.
Yes, so I did, and this is where shit kinda goes downhill because it was such an incredible opportunity to work there.
Now, when you say working there, are you working there, or are you one of the actors?
I was one of the actors.
Okay.
I was we were technically called trainees, but we were in multiple shows that they had for their season.
And how many actors would they hire for like a season?
Out of the 16 of us from my cohort, I think there was 6 maybe? 6 or 7 of us. And so you get a contract and you're assigned to a bunch of different shows, and one of the shows that I was assigned to was Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a
Oh,
very,
beautiful. Yeah.
very famous Shakespeare show. One of the easiest ones to understand language wise, which is a big draw. People really like that show. Because otherwise people are sitting in the audience like, I have no idea what's happening. But the funny thing is Shakespeare is difficult, and I think a lot of people's exposure to it is, oh, we had to read Romeo and Juliet in my English class, and it was boring as hell, and I didn't care for it, and that's like what people's exposure to it is. But if you watch a live show of it with really good direction and good actors, the performance of it definitely helps the ease of understanding.
Mhm. Yeah, reading it on a piece of paper and not being able to see the emotions come out on stage is just
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
Like, in my generation, like we had the Leonardo DiCaprio,
yeah.
Claire Danes, Romeo and Juliet from who is the director that did that? Was it Baz Luhrmann? Or
Actually don't know.
yeah, I don't know who did either, but it was a spectacular movie. It was kind of like, a modern twist on it. But I remember that like really helped
Mhm.
me figure out Romeo and Juliet because I think when that came out, I was like in high school or something like that, or maybe just early university.
Well, at risk of boring people listening to this, us talking about Shakespeare, the final thing I'll say about that is if you get past the difficulty of reading it, the way that man or multiple people, the jury's kind of out on if it was just him, which is actually the lore is astounding. But the ability of him to condense thoughts and the use it was in English and just like the way he was able to create, he made up I don't know how many words. A lot of words that we still use today were created by him to fit the structure of his poetry.
Hmm.
Fucking mind blowing. Anyhow, we
Have you ever been to the UK?
no, I haven't.
Yeah, you'd probably fucking. Yeah, I mean, to go to the Globe in London and see a Shakespeare play, that would probably blow your mind.
I that is a bucket list thing for me to do for sure. I'd love to see English actors do it too.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, that's where it was born. So
I had a friend on the podcast a couple weeks ago. His name's Paul, and he grew up in the UK, and he was doing Shakespeare and stuff like that when he was a kid. And he ended up performing in the West End as a theater actor. And his claim to fame is that he was the lead, I think, yeah, in Dirty Dancing on the West End for like
oh
a huge run in the 2000s or 2010s, and then he came out here, and now he's a screenwriter and producer. But he had that whole like UK theater journey, and of course, if you do it in the UK, like it's all Shakespeare. Like
yeah,
there's nowhere else to go, right?
nothing but the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyhow, the season that I was hired for was the 2020 season.
Oh fuck.
So 115 show season for that show that I was going to be in, plus the other show that was set to be built later in the season. 115 shows. We start rehearsals at the beginning of February. Well, I think the first show we did was I think it was March 11th.
A week before the world closed.
March 11th or March 12th. I remember we opened the show. We did one show.
Yeah.
And then I get an email, "Hey, coronavirus, like we have to shut down for a few weeks."
Mm.
Remember that? For a
Yeah.
few weeks.
2 weeks, and then everything will be fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And okay, we're gonna be back next month. Okay, maybe in July. Okay, the season's over. So
So you're contracted though. Are you still getting your salary, or because they had to postpone all the shows, you're not getting paid, right?
I honestly don't remember if no, I didn't keep getting paid.
Because and they say like, okay, here's your contract for the season, the summer.
Yeah.
You're gonna do 115 shows. You're gonna get paid this much amount of shows. You're gonna get paid this much per week, or
Yeah.
or this much per show. But then if the show doesn't go on and you don't sell tickets, you don't get paid. So you're sitting there going broke. Your bank account's just going down and down and
Oh
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I was in school the following year, and for whatever reason, I didn't work enough to get unemployment. So I was making no money. Um, and that whole experience, that was 6 years ago, and
Still have
when I
PTSD.
think about it, just like the opportunity that was like ripped away from not only me but all the other people in my cohort, all the other people in that season.
Mhm.
Like, it just was there, man. I had it in my hands. I was like, this was years in the making, right? I moved to Oregon in 2017, finished out all my, everything, graduated in the winter of 2019, we did our senior thesis show, and it's this big celebration. We finished our audition for OSF, and then I got the email that we're hiring you, and that was the best holiday break ever, just knowing that I had this job lined up that I'd worked years to 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 get, and I could tell people I was a professional fucking actor.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Beautiful.
Woo! And then for them to be like, "See ya, we have an unprecedented global pandemic. Um, have fun."
Hmm.
So, for a month I was unemployed, and then with my psych degree, I pivoted and started working in mental health.
Okay.
So that's
Of which you were suffering from, like, mental health
oh my
crisis.
gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a good line of work to get into. I might as well. They can't take this away from me.
I was in Ethiopia when the world closed. I was filming an episode of my Extreme Trek series on
Did you get
BBC.
stuck?
I almost did. So we were doing like a 12-day trek through the Simeon Mountain National Park in northern Ethiopia on the border with Sudan, and we were kind of we were in this valley for like 2 days, so we were offline. We didn't get a signal, and then we kind of came up to the top of this mountain, and the guys were making tea, and they're like, "Oh, why are we making tea? We're stopping here." It's like, "Oh yeah, check your phone. We got a signal up here on the top of this mountain." So I check my phone, and I just get like a fucking like 300 text messages, like all of
Oh
it.
my god.
It's like the world's closed, airports are closed. I lived in Dubai at that time, so I was a resident of the UAE. They closed their borders to residents. Only they
If
were
you were outside of the country, you couldn't go back in.
couldn't go back. So there I was, like sitting on the top of this mountain in Ethiopia. Like I had a crew, I had responsibilities to them. The whole world was just closing. My crew and I were all residents of Dubai, so we couldn't even go back because we were living in Dubai because we were traveling the world all the time, and it's a great hub to kind of be if you're traveling globally. And then Dubai closed their borders to us. They were letting local Emirati people back in, but not like residents. And we were just sitting in Ethiopia, going like, we got to get out of Ethiopia, but we have nowhere to go. Like what the fuck? So we canceled our filming, and then because we had a signal, we called a driver, and then we basically ran like 8 hours to get to the place where the driver could pick us up. And then we drove straight back to Addis Ababa, which was the capital. And the whole time, it took us like 12 hours or something like that to drive back to the capital. And the whole time we were driving, we were on this website that just showed all the countries that were closing their borders. And every like 10 minutes, it was another country, another country, another country. And then in the end, when I got to Addis Ababa, the only country other than, so I have a Canadian passport, so I could go to Canada. They would let me in.
Oh.
But I was working on all these projects in the Middle East, and I was in the same place as you. It's like, oh, 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever. So I was like, oh shit, like I'll just try to find some place in the Middle East to go so I can at least be in the same time zone so I can keep working. So I ended up going to Istanbul, Turkey. And then I got from Ethiopia to Turkey. And then the morning I arrived in Turkey, Turkey closed their airport, shut their international airport, international borders, everything. And then I was in Istanbul for 4 months, just doing nothing.
Did you, just living in a hotel somewhere, or
So because it was like, oh, 2 weeks will open up, 2 weeks will open up. I stayed in a hotel for like the first month, and I just booked 2 weeks at a time. I was like, okay. And the hotel people were amazing. Actually, you want to hear the whole story?
I want to hear. So after we're done here, I want to get together again and listen to your life because, like I said, I did a deep dive and yeah, I want to hear all about your scrambles, man. You've seen some serious shit.
Bring a bottle of whiskey and we're good.
Yeah.
But so the thing is, like, I stayed at this one hotel first, and I was the only guest in the hotel because the world had closed. And after like 2-3 days, they're like, "Look, sir, we would never ask you to leave, but we need to ask you to leave because we're going to close the hotel." And I was like, "Okay, so which hotel in Istanbul is never going to close no matter what?" And they said the Hilton Bosphorus, which is down by the water or up on the hill, sorry. And they're like, they never close even during like civil wars. I'm like, okay, that's a good thing. So then I went there, and it was like a 500 room hotel, and there were 4 guests. So they just put us in the corner suites on the top floors, all separate from each other. And the restaurants were closed, the bars were closed, but they brought us room service every morning. We ate, and we could go out and walk around town, but like the major transportation, the metro and subway and stuff were all closed. But you could go out and at least walk. But I was there for 4 months, just twiddling my thumbs, losing my mind. So I did about 4 or 6 weeks in the hotel, and then I moved into an Airbnb. And that's when I actually started podcasting. That's when I started doing these COVID calls, which were like, I would do a COVID call with a friend who was also in the entertainment industry, and we would do an Instagram live chat. So so me stuck in Istanbul and then them in New York or LA or London or wherever they were. And we would do like a live Instagram, and we were getting like hundreds of thousands of people watching us talk about like how fucking crazy this is. Like, are we ever going to get back to work? Whatever, whatever. And that kind of got me into this idea of podcasting and things like that. So that, and then when I was able to get out of Istanbul, I did film in the summer of 2020. But then by November 2020, everything closed again. So I got hit by the double wave. I was able to get my crew back into Europe, and we thought like we could travel around Europe and do some filming. So we filmed in Heidelberg, we filmed in Malta, Croatia, and Montenegro. And then by November we closed again, and by then like it was just done. And then I ended up being able to go back to Dubai then, and then I was in Dubai for like a couple of years, just like waiting out when the world would go back to normal.
So I lost my mind. So it sounds so lonely too in
It was
Turkey.
okay. It was okay.
Okay, you were by
Mm.
yourself, man.
There was company. Like there were a few people I knew there. I rescued a cat. So that's where I got
Thank
my
God for
cats.
animals.
I got my cats in Istanbul off the street.
These are Turkish cats?
They're
You got them
Turkish
here?
cats. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So I'll walk you through that after. But so yeah, so like I just rescued a cat, and I travel with him everywhere now. He's been to like 25 countries. Um, so, but it was just bizarro land. So like I can imagine you sitting about to partake in this season of like being your first professional acting season, like working since you were a kid, doing those, you know, those 7-day stints in Dillon, and now you're getting to this point where it's like now it's your time to act and like show the world what's inside you, right? And then you just get fucking shut down.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I remember doing Zoom calls with my classmates and my teacher, just being like, "Hey, do you guys need to vent and talk?" And we all just heads hung, just like, I cannot believe we probably should have had more concern about what was happening in the world, but all of us were so like thinking about ourselves,
Mm.
like, how could this happen to us now with
Well, most of what was going on in the world was total bullshit. So
yeah,
now we know, right?
yeah,
But yeah, it's true. Like at that time, it really did hit us all like on a personal level.
yeah, it's still so weird to think back to those days. But in retrospect, I was lucky in the sense that I finished all of, my education and becoming an adult essentially before we had to go into all of that. Like, 'cause like, can you imagine being 14 when this stuff started and like all of high school you have to be on a computer or at home? Like,
I have friends, kids, and my brother has a kid. Like I'm an uncle too. Like yeah, like a whole year at home with parents working like from their home offices or whatever, and also trying to raise a kid. And then how many kids had to like graduate high school or graduate university like remotely? Total garbage.
and it they were robbed of education and the experience of being around people their age, like college was great. I learned a lot, but I think I think and a lot of people have this experience. The the years spent at college were more about like the social aspect of it
Right.
and the connections I made and the the expansion of your worldview, This little kid from Dillon, Montana, anywhere that I went, any sort of university I could have gone to, it just blew my mind open with possibilities and novelty. And so, yeah, a lot of kids got robbed. So we all got robbed.
Mm, yeah. So I mean, did they put you on a list to do 2021 at the Shakespeare Festival? Like, or was this, or was it like one and done and you're out?
I sent an email. I said, "Are we invited back when you guys reopen?" Never heard anything back.
Because they just didn't know, right?
Who knows what happened. I didn't get invited back though.
Yeah. Well, you know, like they must have had to release all kinds of staff, full-time staff. They must have had to like beg
That's
the
nice.
government for money, you know, to keep the lights on. Like,
They had a private donor, I
mm,
think in 2021, donate like millions and millions of dollars to keep the company going,
you know,
which is great. It's awesome that private donors can do that. If you ask me, should the government subsidize something like that? I don't know, but it's awesome that there was people that cared enough to keep that company alive.
mhm.
Uh, but I don't know. The awesome thing is I don't think live theater is ever going to go away in the midst of all of what's happening now in the entertainment industry. The you know, AI and creatives kind of getting squeezed everywhere, not being paid fairly, or, the unions not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be doing, like all that stuff that is scary to
Mm,
people that want to create art. I think the you can't fake a live performance of a play with AI. You can't.
mhm.
Um, you can't
Or robots.
or robots. No.
Yeah.
Who would wanna go see that?
Yeah.
They might get away with AI generated TV shows and movies and stuff, but even then, and this is a whole tangent that you probably have a lot to say about this, but even then, I don't think people will give a shit about stuff that humans didn't actually make, like,
I think it'll just take one generation to catch on, sadly. Like,
you think?
yeah, like that, you know what's gonna happen? This is what I think is gonna happen. I think, people like people like me will start to age out. People like you will start to build your career. And then some like 15-year-old kid is gonna make something that looks as amazing as Avatar in his parents' basement by himself. And it'll get like 100 million views on YouTube or something like that. And then that's all anyone's gonna talk about. And then people are just gonna copy that. And then it might take like another 20 years after that, but eventually the kids that grow up like that, they won't know the difference. And then you know what? Like human made shows is gonna be like non-GMO fucking food or
Organic TV.
yeah, that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be organic TV versus AI TV. And there's gonna be a premium for anything that's human made. And I think like it's dark, but I think like that's kind of where the next 30 years will go. Because if some kid can do Avatar at 15 in his basement, the next 10 or 20 years of children that come after that, that's all that they're gonna want to watch. And they're not gonna know the pedigree and the fucking Jack Nicholas and the Warren Beatty and the all these great actors who came before that and actually had to perfect their craft and things like that. And
Yeah.
and they're not, it's terrifying. But I think the greatest gift that human beings have is our ability to adapt, and for both good and bad.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm afraid of like, where entertainment will be in maybe 20 years from now.
Dark.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
bleak, man.
yeah, but like maybe stand-up comedy still makes it because that's a live performance again. Maybe theater still makes it because that's a live performance again. But it's crazy. I mean, it's I just don't think yeah, I just think the way people tell stories is going to drastically change.
When the pandemic started.
And I'm not for that, by the way, but I
Yeah.
just think like that's probably the worst case scenario of what's going to happen. And I'm not for it. But I think a lot of people are going to lose jobs in a lot of different ways. Like when I'm in LA, I travel all the time by Waymo and there's no driver, right? So that's taking a job away from someone. But I like it. It's kind of new. It's the future technology, but a huge amount of drivers are going to lose their jobs over the next years. Or like, it's funny. Someone was telling me this the other day. Did you know before computers could make calculations, big banks, they used to have an entire building just of people doing calculations. So, like J.P. Morgan Chase, right? Big bank. Actually, it used to be two banks, J.P. Morgan and Chase, and then they came together. But so, like in the 1940s or 50s or whatever, like J.P. Morgan in New York City would have like one bank where they would meet clients, and then they'd have another building of just people, and they were actually called computers. They would compute, and they were doing all the numbers on a daily basis by hand and saving their paper
Yeah.
work and then compiling it all and then sending it to the bosses so that they could figure out how much money they had at any given moment. And then, of course, microprocessing came in and computers came in. And then that entire building of people that were just doing like shorthand math gone.
Yeah.
And I think like now we're kind of entering another era where we're going to have like that kind of dystopia.
Uh, well, after the pandemic started, the man who directed the show that I was in, uh, his name was Joseph Hodge, and he's the artistic director of the Guthrie Theater. And he was one of the most extraordinary people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting,
Yep.
let alone working with. The 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 gravitas he had and the calm and the wisdom that everything he said, just you hung on every word. And I remember once we got shut down, he made this YouTube video talking about what was happening, and he talked about this story of him and his wife going to the Acropolis in Greece and seeing, 2,000 years ago where theater was first born essentially and where humans created this art and the fact that it started there and it's changed a lot, but the fundamentals of what it is has remained the same for thousands of years. And his message of hope was that it's never going to leave. And he also had this really beautiful scientific story about when everyone goes to a theater together and they sit and they watch a performance. There's been studies that show that people's heartbeats start to become synchronized
Hmm.
for whatever reason. Isn't that fucking mind blowing?
Hmm.
I think about that all the time. And that collective shared experience of people all sitting together watching something. And I don't know that a lot of people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, especially younger people. And so I fear for lengthy plays and stuff. I hope they can survive and still remain relevant because there's been some absolutely like magnificent masterpieces
Hmm.
created throughout the years that people need to it needs to stay relevant and it needs to stay here. But I'm really hopeful that theater won't go anywhere with regardless of what happens on the digital landscape. I think live theater it has to, right? Like I feel like it's too important to humanity. Like it has done so much for us, and it's what has. I mean, any even before theater as we know it was created, all different groups of people throughout history have told stories to help them understand what was happening in their world.
Yeah.
And I just think that is it's such a large piece of who we are. And like if all of it starts to get replaced with generate like artificial intelligence generated content, the like what's the fucking point? Like it doesn't it's not even a story of what humans are anymore. Like it I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's gonna, what's gonna happen is it's gonna, so like, first of all, let's address the fact that like short form content on social media wrecks your brain, right? Like, let's just all fucking agree to that. Like, and then, like there's all kinds of studies now that say like just scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or any of your social media platforms is like worse than smoking. Like
It's
it,
neurotoxic,
yeah.
apparently.
So what's going to happen is you're going to have like this fast food versus fine dining experience in the entertainment world where, and it's going to be like 95% of people are just going to gravitate to fast food, and they're going to wreck their brains and wreck their health and wreck their mind and wreck their ability to process information and think deeply about anything. And then there's going to be the fine dining folks that still go to the plays and still allow that kind of human experience to play out and absorb that. Because the funny thing is, like you said, that like, the human theater and the human experience of performance has changed, and has been kind of so constant in our, in the last few centuries, even thousands of years. But there's something really human to that, right? And the funny thing is like everything that we're doing nowadays, moving forward as we advance into the future, is taking us further away from, I think, being human.
Yeah.
Like we're losing that connectivity, we're losing that human connection. We're no longer, our hearts are no longer synchronized in a room with 300 people all watching the same performer. Like we're missing out on that. Now we're all segregated, on the toilet or at a desk, watching short form content, destroying ourselves. And but it's going to be like fast food versus fine dining. So you definitely want to be on the fine dining side, because people are still watching Joe Rogan do 3 hours. People are still watching Christopher Nolan do 3 hours. I just watched the Avatar movie. It's 3 hours and 17
Yeah.
minutes. It was a little bit too long. Uh,
It's long.
but if the story moves and it's done well, then long form is still great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you get this letter saying that you've got a job, and then in March 2020, you get this letter saying you don't have a job. And then you said you went and got some work in mental health. So what does that mean?
So I started working at a residential care facility in Oregon.
And that's because you did those extra credits and got your degree.
Yeah, and I was always interested in psychology, and I thought that if I wasn't going to be acting, you know, I don't.
Where was your head at that point? Were you like, I'll never act again? Or you're like, okay, I need a short-term job and then I'm going to come back to acting?
It was I'm broke. no place is open right now except for places like this. Just on the internet, scrolling, looking for jobs.
Did you ever think about going home?
Um, no,
No.
no, because that would feel to me like going a step back.
But you could have just like you could have just gone back to Montana and just waited out the chaos. Like when I think about like hiding out somewhere instead of trying to fight or swim upstream, like
Yeah.
maybe like if I had a place in Montana, I think I probably would have just gone back to Montana and just waited out for like a year or two, and then like when the dust settles, I'll put myself back out into the world.
Well, so without getting too in the weeds here, my family ended up moving to Oregon. So when COVID started, I didn't have any family in Montana left. So it's not like I could have gone back there. My family actually lived within 15 minutes of me. They followed my grandparents and me. I don't want to say it was me. They moved out there for me, but they were there just to be closer to my grandparents.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
yeah, it's awesome. And so I had them, but I had no money. So there was a residential care facility open, and it was a 16-bed uh, care facility run by the state of Oregon, and it was a really crazy experience. The state of Oregon has these places that are under what's called the PSRB, the Psychiatric Security Review Board. So people that are mentally unwell commit crimes, and we're talking anything you can think of.
Yeah.
In some cases, murder.
They don't go to jail, they go here.
They are deemed mentally unwell, so they go to a care facility like this, and they're given therapy, they're given medications, psychiatry help, and then help with their living essentially. And some of the people that were in this facility I worked at, they had been in there. One guy was in his 60s, and he'd been in there since he was in his 20s.
Holy shit.
And if you roll the clocks back 40 years or so, the medications that we had at that time to treat psychosis,
Electroshock therapy.
yeah, even worse, just straight up giving people poison,
Yeah.
essentially.
Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yeah. Yes,
Was it at all like that?
kind of, honestly.
Was there a chief?
There was some there was a Native American guy there actually that had something called hostile attribution bias. And that is when the way he processes people communicating with him, he always infers hostility. So I would say good morning to him, and he'd be like, "The fuck does that mean? What are you talking about?" And he would get super upset. "Hey man, I like that jacket you're wearing today." "Fuck you, you like my jacket. What's wrong with my jacket?"
Yeah.
I was legitimately giving him a compliment. So.
Also known as a New York local.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, so I ended up working there for about a year, and that was just to get by when everything was going crazy. And honestly, part of it was like if I worked in a health related facility, I was one of the first people to get the vaccine.
Mhm.
And I thought at that time, if I was able to get that, I could move and it would open more doors for me because I was like, all the conspiracy theories that were flying around during COVID. I thought there was one point I legitimately thought like they're not going to have enough of this. And the people that don't get it are going to be restricted from having access to God knows what. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I got to get my hands on this vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, the media played it up really well. I mean, it got to the point where people were losing their jobs if they didn't want to be vaccinated. And then the other point is like people who were getting vaccinated thought like, they could run around and be totally free and fair. But actually none of that ended up being true at all. It was just a total shit show.
A fucking mess. We can all agree it was a fucking mess. So anyways, I worked there for about a year, and I saved up enough money, and I was like, I know that all these roads lead to Los Angeles because I want to continue to be an actor. And then I thought more about, well, I think it would be more lucrative and I could make more money in TV and film because people that I had known that have done that, they were doing well, and residuals were still a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Soon to be gone forever.
I think they are. If you hadn't gotten on something that had residuals at some point, I don't know the details of it, but anyhow.
Well, the streaming guys don't pay any residuals. So as all these companies end up being bought up by Netflix and Amazon and whatever like that, then the royalty, this whole town runs on royalties, right?
Yeah.
All the nice homes in Beverly Hills and Bel Air, they're all just paid for by, and those are all kind of disappearing slowly.
Maybe I should have stayed in Montana, man, all those years ago on my ranch.
Nah, we're just going through a rough patch. We're almost through this, I hope.
Been hearing we're almost through this for so many years.
COVID Actors strike, or writer strike, actor strike. Yeah.
AI now. Mergers. We're gonna go back to cable. Basically, that's what's gonna happen with TV, feels like.
Yeah.
So I worked there for a year in Oregon, and then I moved to LA in 2021, and I got a job working at another mental health care company because the program director in Oregon used to live out here, and he actually was an actor. It's kind of funny. And I said, "Hey, I want." He knew I acted, and I was like, "I think I want to move to LA." He's like, "You should do it." He gave me the encouragement. He's like, "Listen, while you're out there, I used to work at this company. They'll give you a job." So
That's amazing.
so that's moved out here, got a job just like that.
So I was under the assumption that the government no longer ran mental health facilities and that they just put people out on the street, and that's where you have all the homeless people.
I don't know how well, it seems like that out here for sure. It seems like each state is different in how they do things. There's state-run facilities. I don't know if there's federally run facilities.
There used to be,
Federally
but they
run.
closed them.
So,
Mm.
yeah, and I don't know if California has state state-funded treatments. I'm not sure about that. Rehabilitation and, like, detox centers, I think,
Hmm.
but not for, like, residential mental health care, which is yeah.
I still think they have residential mental health care for criminals or people who have broken the law because they're not fit to be in a general population prison. But when it comes to just like people who haven't broken the law and are mentally having mental challenges, I think there's nothing for them anymore.
Yeah, and a that's a huge issue that I think it's not an easy issue to solve,
No.
but I think our government certainly could.
Ronald Reagan shut that down. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
Reagan.
just put everyone out on the street. And it's crazy. Like in Canada, we actually have a social safety like net to help catch people from ending up on the street and stuff like that. But Toronto is an absolute mess of like I grew up in Toronto my whole life and left when I was 22, and I'm going back is just a joke. Like even LA is has less homeless people than Toronto in some seasons. Like in the depth of winter, most people end up somewhere else
Yeah.
or they pass away because it's freezing in Toronto. But it, you know, when I see pictures of Toronto and downtown Toronto versus at least West Hollywood and Beverly Hills, like there's almost no homeless people around here anymore.
And it's not like there's a lack of money, like, there's money everywhere, it seems like. I mean, it's weird seeing Lamborghinis next to homeless encampments out here. It twists your mind.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
We should set up some early child educational schools.
Yeah, you and me, we just get into the education business.
Yeah. With Tim Waltz.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you made it down here. So that's great. You were able to navigate a fucking miserable situation. Well done, by the way. And you were able to come to LA with a paycheck
Yeah.
and a job in hand, which is something a lot of people don't do. And the first few months and years here can be agonizingly challenging. So you had a job. So what was it like? You came to LA. Where'd you live? Like, you know, how did you start dipping your toe into the acting world?
I first moved to North Hollywood. I lived on Riverside, for those of you that know where any of those places are at. And it was fine. I didn't sleep for the first couple months because I kept hearing helicopters and police sirens and people yelling.
All night, baby, all night.
The beautiful sounds of Los Angeles. And I was just on edge. I remember the anxiety I felt. Like I was wired no matter what. I would leave my apartment and just the cacophony of things hitting my face. Just I had never been anywhere like this. I mean, 2,500 people where I grew up to one of the most populous places in our country.
Chaos.
Yeah, and just a general feeling of not feeling safe.
Yeah.
Looking back now, it wasn't that unsafe where I lived. It's just I was so used to, I didn't even lock my doors.
Yeah.
The home I grew up in, because who would break into our house? Like no one's gonna come steal our stuff,
The good old days.
The good old days of being in Dillon, Montana.
Yeah. Instead of a crazy city of 25 million.
What sort of awesome stuff happened right away?
Well, because you came and had your job at the mental health clinic,
Yeah.
or residential center. So I guess your days were spent working there.
Yep.
So how did you kind of navigate? Because everyone who comes to LA is doing a few different things. Most people end up in like waitressing or waitering or catering
Yeah.
is a big one. While they're trying to also get their acting career, but you actually had like a full-time job. So I'm just wondering like how you balance that.
Yeah, I had a full-time job, and what was funny is I did have representation at that time. I had an agent that I knew was based in Montana and um, also had connections in California and I think Hawaii of all places. But so I was being submitted for stuff. I was auditioning.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
still getting told no quite a bit.
But at least you were busy and kind of doing the thing. Like, at least, like, you weren't sitting at home being like, how come I can't get an
How come I
audition?
can't do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, every now and then I'd get an audition. It wasn't like I got them all the time, but and it's funny because one of the first things I got after a year of being here was was a cable TV show in Montana. So I ended up going back to Montana to be in this TV show,
Mhm.
and
Second lead on Yellowstone.
yeah, dude, I wish. I've auditioned for the Taylor Sheridan universe a couple times,
Mhm.
but no after no.
Mhm.
I'll get in there somehow.
I can see you in Landman season 3.
My parents love that show, by the way.
It's fucking
Uh,
great.
And you know what? You know what fucking sucked is I got that job. I went back to Montana. I was like, this is awesome. Homecoming. They shot outside of Bozeman, so I made that trip like to go see some of my friends too. And all the people on set, what they knew about me was I was this actor from LA, right? If you know anything about Montanans, hearing some actor from LA paints all sorts of pictures
They
about
fucking
who
hate.
I
They
am.
fucking hate you.
Despise what that means.
They didn't. They didn't. You have to wear a T-shirt that says "I grew up in Dillon."
So now I'm out there, don't feel like I am well, when I'm in Los Angeles, I don't feel like I'm a California boy. I don't feel like I'm an LA native at all.
Yeah.
I feel too I don't even know if "too country" is the word because I don't feel country. But anyhow, I and then I go there and I don't fit in with where I'm from. And I had people asking me like, "What are you all about?" Blah blah. I was like, I grew up in Dillon. One guy's like, "Dillon? No, you didn't. Where'd you live?" And I told him my address and where my parents worked and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, okay." And it totally changed everyone's attitude
Yeah.
and they started being more friendly to me. But I was like, I'm caught in between these two worlds where people in LA can't get a job out here, but I go back to Montana and they're like, you're this LA actor now.
Yeah, they hate people who live in the Yellowstone Club.
Yes. And which is
Justin Timberlake,
yeah, it's
Tom
hilarious.
Brady.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Everyone lives out there.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like its own little celebrity club up there and
Its own universe.
taking the spoils of Big Sky, Montana.
Soon to have its own passports, probably.
They're gonna build like a Great Wall of China around that area. Celebrities.
Especially if there's another pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone go look up what the Yellowstone Club is. You'll understand.
I know some people there. I've stayed there actually with some friends, but it's not the people who grew up in Montana. Let's put it that way.
No. God, no.
Yeah.
The people that grew up in Montana are probably working the facilities, maybe.
Yeah. That's
Getting
true.
like low paying jobs, but
And all the rich folk in there, they sponsor the high school or the hospital. They build a new hospital or something like that to try to win back some favor from the community.
Ben Affleck General Hospital.
Yeah.
A big scale too.
The amount of times that Justin Timberlake posts himself golfing in the summer from Montana at the Yellowstone Club is unbelievable. Like, it's almost daily.
I'm friends with a good friend of mine that I went to school with. He works in he worked in the music industry in Bozeman. He did like live sound production and stuff. And there's like one go-to guy there that has a big recording studio and stuff. And they're really good friends with Justin Timberlake. And I always got to hear the stories about what they were doing up in the Yellowstone Club hanging out.
Yeah.
So wild.
Bizarro land. But I really think that, just as a total aside from your career and what we're talking about at the moment, I really think the super rich of the world, I really think they're going to end up in these gated communities. Like, for those of you out there who might not know, like the Yellowstone Club, they basically, cordoned off, like, I want to say like 100 square miles of some of the most beautiful property in Montana, and including its own mountain for skiing.
Which they were going to have one of the Winter Olympics in the next 10 years that talked about having it there. The state will never allow it, but that's the kind of world-class skiing they have. It was one of the best ski mountains in North America at one point.
Yeah, and it's totally private. So you have to, and of course you have to have a membership there. You have to be you have to go through like a process to be invited in, and then
Sounds
you
like
got
a cult.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's out there for the super, super rich is kind of cult-like. Yeah. Okay, so you go back to Montana. So first of all, fucking great. You book a job.
Yeah.
Um, and when you went back to Montana to do this series, did you have to quit your mental health job or did they give you a leave?
I was only gone for like 4 or 5 days,
Okay.
so PTO, baby.
Here you go.
I was getting paid to go work on this show, and then I come back and I was like, "Should I have just stayed in Montana? What was the point of all this?" But I haven't been back since to work, so yeah.
Okay, so you come back with a show under your belt. So that was actually your first time as a professional actor because you didn't get a chance to do your Shakespeare employment in
Yeah.
Oregon. So that was your first big job, 2021,
20 this was no, this was after 2021. This was probably
2022.
the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. Yes, the beginning of 2023. I'm getting my years mixed up.
So what would that feel like being a professional actor?
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be like. I didn't have that big of I was one of the lead roles. I didn't have that many lines though, and it was a weird, complicated situation, but, it was underwhelming to say the least, and then, like, showing my family it, and they were like, "You were hardly in it." And I was like, "Yeah, I know.
Give me a chance.
I know I wasn't," but,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that's not gonna be the last thing I do, and
Mhm.
I don't wanna be that's not gonna be something that I am remembered for, but, uh, it was a cool experience. Listen, they flew me out, they put me up, they signed a check for me, they paid for all my meals. If someone, in my shoes, that was the great I could get used to that, man.
Mhm.
That was one of the greatest things, greatest feelings ever. I felt again, I had that feeling of accomplishment and belonging where I was like, I am a professional actor yet again. Uh and then as my story is not unique, as everyone knows, you get done with that job and you go back to your life. And if you don't have another gig lined up, which I didn't, you're back doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Auditioning, putting on the coat, setting up a tripod, doing auditions, getting told no all the time. Back to that grind.
The highs and the lows are terrifying, aren't they?
Yeah, and the highs never feel quite as high as you think they're going to. But the lows also are never as low as you think either, so you gotta kinda temper your expectations.
I remember my first TV production. We did Tough Rides China. We did like a 65-day motorcycle trip all around China.
That is actually I really wanted to talk to you about this. Continue.
Um, and and I remember like I was like, okay, this is because this was my first foray into television, and it was privately financed by myself and my brother, and I was like, okay, this is going to change my career because I wanted to get out of photography because it was kind of dying, and I wanted to get into, and I still wanted to travel and tell stories. And I remember we went out on the 65-day production, moving every day, filming every day. It was fucking exhausting. In the end, we did like 14,000 kilometers or 14,000 miles all around China on motorcycle, and it was so hard every day, and it was so backbreaking every day, and there were days I was absolutely in tears. Things didn't work, bikes broke down, couldn't get spare parts, like the production was hanging on by a thread, like multiple occasions. If we didn't make it back to, we'd left from my home in Shanghai. If we didn't make it back to my home in Shanghai, did we still have a story? Did we have something that we could put into episodic form? Is it going to be a documentary? All this stuff. And by the end of it, I was so broken and so shattered that I didn't know what was up. Like what was up, what was down, what was up. But then 3 days later, I went into massive depression because it was over. And all of a sudden, like you're not using all of your gifts, you're not using your problem solving skills, you're not on. Like it's like someone switched off something inside you. And then you just go back to normal life, which is great, but not. And then you have to just sludge through it for days, weeks, months, whatever, until that next project comes up. That was terrifying for me. That was my first time I felt like that.
If I'm not mistaken, that was a world record-breaking trek. What kind of motorcycle were you on?
So we were on BMW F800 GSs, but the story of how we got the bikes was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to do this trip around China, and we knew that like a good chunk of it would be off road. Okay, because we wanted to go all through Tibet because no one's really filmed riding a motorcycle through Tibet before, so we thought like we got to do it, right? but Tibet is like thousands of miles of off-road riding because there's not paved roads out there. So we were like, okay, we need like a really good motorcycle. And so I lined up all the Chinese motorcycles. And by this time I'd lived in China for like 10 years already. So I lined up all the Chinese motorcycles. I went to all the dealerships. I looked at them all. They were just terrible. So I was like, okay, forget that. So I need a foreign made motorcycle. Okay. What are the best ones for this? Okay. KTM, BMW, et cetera, et cetera. But then China had this import restriction on motorcycles. So you could only import, they only had dealerships for Harley Davidson and BMW.
You're not gonna do that on a Harley.
No, and this was before, like now Harley has a dual sport, like Harley has a proper
Okay.
adventure bike, but back then they didn't.
Yeah.
So we had to get we had to go with BMW, and they had a 1200 and an 800, and the 1200 was just too big and too mechanical or too electronic. So I wanted something that was more mechanical and a little bit higher because my brother and I are quite tall. So we went with the F800 GS, and we asked BMW if they would sponsor us, and they didn't. But then they came back and worked with me later, so that's fine. But yeah, so we actually had to buy the bikes,
Wow.
and then we rode them into the fucking ground, and then had to repair them and then sell them after the production.
That is so sick. I love that
Just
so much.
anything to get this fucking show done. But yeah, just again that low of coming back and going back into normal life after being so on every day and feeling so useful and being like, oh my God, this is what I was put on the world to do, put on the planet to do. And you get to do it 16 hours a day, and you're exhausted and you're in tears, but it is you
Yeah.
to your
Making it happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, what do you want for breakfast? I don't know. You're back living at home, and it's just
It's the civilian life. In a way, that's what my education was, is that it was a grind all the time, but you loved it because it was what you wanted to do, and then as soon as it's gone, you have to kinda reevaluate who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, and yeah.
terrifying to look inwards.
Please don't leave me alone in my thoughts, man. So please, dear God, no.
So how long did it take you to land your second job when you came back from Montana?
You're looking at it, man. I still haven't gotten professional work since then.
Yeah.
And to
And how
me,
many auditions have you done?
I bet you I've done, I don't know, somewhere between like 75 and 100.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are at this stage, are you thinking about like, are you still working at that mental health facility, or have you moved on from that?
I'm a private chef now, which is like a whole other story to get into. All throughout my education and college and moving, I worked in restaurants to make money
Mhm.
before my mental health work. So I worked in some really lovely places and developed a skill set to do that. So that's what I'm doing currently. I'm working as a chef.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's more valuable than acting, because the food system here in the United States is so sickening that we need like private chefs who can actually do something. Even when you go out to dinner at a restaurant in this town, the food quality is so bad.
You pay a lot of money for some not that great stuff.
I was telling someone the other day, that I was living in Switzerland and Dubai before I came here. And in Switzerland, like I was going out for dinner a couple of nights a week, for business and whatever, to meet people. And you go out and you can have a pizza and then go for a walk afterwards, and you feel fine. Like, or you go out for dinner at 7 or 8, like most European people do, and you're fine. But and then I took that mentality and I came to LA and I started going out for dinner a couple times a week. I was just sick all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of cooking oil are they using? What kind of vegetable, like, what kind of flour are they using for the bread? Like, because that whole network of food and the way people get food into the grocery stores or into the restaurants is all toxic.
People always say that. I
Yeah.
have friends that go to Italy all the time, and they echo the same thing. They're like, we eat out all the time,
Yeah.
and it's not like we're eating healthy. We're having pasta, we're having wine, and but they feel fine. And I'm like, what is that about? Are we being poisoned? Is that what's happening? Is our government just not giving a fuck anymore? Like, it's a scary thing to think about. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. What
So a
were we talking
private
about?
chef, just how, what that transition has been like to being a private chef.
Listen, whenever I tell people that, they get really excited because everyone loves food and they want to talk to me about it and they want to ask me all my thoughts about it. But I honestly, I don't love it like I think a lot of people love doing it. It's simply a skill set that I learned how to do and I can do it well and it's kept me afloat. It's almost like a trade, like carpentry or being a bricklayer or something like that. Like I'm sure there's or a plumber. I'm sure there's some plumbers out there that are like, this is my fucking calling and I love plumbing. But for I think for a lot of them, they're like, this is a skill that I can do and it pays the bills, and that's what this is. But I understand like cooking is an art in its own way, and it's sexy and people make a lot of money doing it, especially like with influencer culture. I know it's like people people can make money doing it that way, and food excites people and it brings people together and there's all these beautiful things about it. But honestly, I want to be an actor. I don't want to be a chef.
Right.
I've been a chef for a long time, and it the best part about being a chef is when I can make food for my loved ones and I can give people experiences with food that that I know and love. When I worked in restaurants, I never felt a sense of accomplishment from, really crushing that dinner rush.
Mm.
Like I never felt like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was always just like, fuck, I got to go home and memorize the script because I want to be acting. So I got to go home and work on this stuff. But
Was working at the restaurant anything like the Bear?
um, I worked at a restaurant that was very much like the Bear.
Really? That's new.
Absolutely. I worked at this French restaurant, and the owner was British, and he was a fucking nightmare. I went home from that. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I went home from that that job crying multiple times because of how difficult it was, the expectations on me, the verbal abuse that was lobbied at me. Um, you name it, it happened to me. I remember one of the first days I worked there, I still remember everything about this moment. I made this rib appetizer. I cut up these ribs, put it in this saute pan, and we put the pans in the oven with this sweet chili sauce that we made. And I cut the ribs wrong. It didn't look the best. I'm over the other side of the kitchen, across the kitchen, doing something else while the ribs are cooking. He opens the oven, takes it out, and he said, "Who did this?" And I was like, "It's me." He's like, "This looks like fucking dog food." Fucking hurls the saute pan by my head, slams on the wall, sauce everywhere. Like stuff like that would happen on the regular, and
That's fucked
just
up.
demeaning. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that man taught me almost everything I know, and I'm a pretty damn good chef now.
Mhm.
Was it worth it? I don't know, and I think I haven't seen all of The Bear because it gives me too much anxiety. Uh,
It's funny that you can't watch it.
I can't watch it. I'm like, "Fuck, this is too much."
Too close to home.
Yeah, I've already dealt with this, but from what people have told me in little bits I've seen, they do a great job of showing how abusive, working in kitchens and restaurants is and was, and a lot of people that trained me, chefs and people I worked with, came up in, like, the '80s and '90s, and I guess it was just even worse then. The drug use, the abuse, that work is grueling.
Mhm.
If you work at certain places, like, 6 days a week, 10 plus hours in, like, a 110-degree kitchen, just getting your ass kicked nonstop, so
So the reason why I got into TV and one of my big heroes is Anthony Bourdain.
Mm.
So I grew up on Bourdain, and when I was in kind of my 30s, Bourdain started really getting quite popular and successful. And of course, he was a chef and wrote Kitchen Confidential, which was a New York Times bestseller, which led to his television career. And then he had Parts Unknown, No Reservations on Travel
So
Channel,
good.
Parts Unknown on CNN. But I fell in love with that show, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring. Like he explored the world through food and through like hanging out with chefs and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of do that similar kind of thing, like with adventure. But he was a huge influence on me, and I ended up getting into food a little bit. And I can never cook or anything like that, like a chef could, but I kind of got into food, through him, and that was kind of my connection to that. So it's crazy to hear the stories about you getting verbally abused by head chefs.
Anthony Bourdain was a special dude.
Yeah.
He had his own demons but he inspired a lot of people, and he shone a light on a lot of beautiful places and beautiful people, and introduced so many people to various cuisines and cultures that otherwise they wouldn't have seen. I fucking love Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
It's such a shame that about what happened to him and his his life.
Yeah. He left a lot of good stuff behind, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So so what's it like doing so I've heard from a lot of actors over the last couple of years that since COVID, a lot of the auditioning is remote and self-taping, right?
Yep.
So a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like self-tapes because I like being in the room with the casting director or the director because I get to make changes and things like that." And then a lot of people say, "Oh, I love the self-tapes because I can work like a full-time job and then I can do the casting in the evening after work and stuff like that. I have like more control over the time and you know I can wardrobe myself or I can do a few different takes and things like that and really kind of play with it." And I'm just wondering like how it's been for you doing auditions and still working as a chef.
So I like the self-tape structure. Would I rather be in the room with people? Yes. And I think I think people are split on that. A lot of people I talk to, other actors really like the self-tape just because of the structure you mentioned. You can film yourself doing a take. Didn't like that, or I want to change my clothes, or that gives you such freedom and ability to change what you're doing.
Mm.
I just feel like I come across way better in a room when can talk to people, I think. And since I've been in LA, have only been in the room with an auditor once.
Are you serious?
Once. And it was for a commercial. It wasn't even for like film or TV or any sort of, you know, narrative based thing. It was a commercial. It was like a Honda commercial.
But for someone who is educated on stage,
Yeah.
like you must miss having an audience like because like from the age of 6 when you were doing the thing in Dillon when they came through every year to your university program and then in Oregon, you know, you're on stage like you must you must love having an audience to do an audition like that must be something that enhances your performance where other people must be terrified from it.
It really does. For me personally, I think there's other actors that don't feel this way, but for me personally, it helps my performance to have someone there. My class that I take right now, it throughout the rehearsals and stuff I do with my scene partners, it's a scene study class in the way it's structured. So you get assigned a scene, you work on it, you go in class, you do the scene in front of everyone.
Mhm.
Um, I always find that some newfound energy or intensity when I do it in front of other people that I can't really get to when I'm in my apartment,
Yeah.
when I'm in my living room. Uh, and I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the adrenaline of having eyes on you. But if you're really locked in and if you're doing it the best you can, you should be able to like kind of block other people out, right? You'd think, but I don't know. The You can definitely feel the energy and it heightens things for me personally. And I would love to do that to audition that way.
Mhm.
But you can't. I gotta sit in my room getting blasted with light, and, I gotta have either a reader on, like, my computer or in the room behind, I'm trying to find your eye. Where's your eyes? You're behind the camera, like, it's just so weird, and, uh, I don't know.
Well, that's why I do this podcast face to face and I don't do it on a Zoom because I feel like there's so much energy when you're with someone else in the room
Yeah.
and it sparks conversation and it sparks endorphins and it sparks energy and it sparks creativity in a way that being by yourself with a screen just doesn't do.
Have you done shows with people remote?
No, I mean I've been on other people's podcasts that are remote,
Yeah.
and you know, like you're sitting there, and you know, someone will have their, you know, someone will be chatting with you and be like, oh yeah, and they'll be like looking at their, and I can like I can fucking see your eye line is not talking to me, and it's just like, you know, and then when you're here, like you know, we're talking, we'll go for 2 or 3 hours or whatever, and we'll just talk, and we're not looking at our phones,
Yeah.
and we're 100% in the moment, and I think that's the only way people should be connecting.
How often does that happen, by the way, anymore? I feel like that never happens.
You know, I'm trying to bring it back.
That's what this whole thing's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It just doesn't happen anymore. But you know, like I see the difference. Like people come in to my home, and I'm wonder. I love having people at the house, and I love having the studio at the house. And people come in, and they're like, "Okay, who's this fucking guy?" And like, he's got this podcast, like 100 something episodes or whatever. And I got to go to his fucking home. Like, he doesn't even have an office or whatever. And they kind of come in like a little bit like unnerved. And then 2 hours later, they fucking leave, and they're smiling and they're happy, and we have a great conversation. I've only had one podcast that didn't go really well where the guy was kind of pissed off, but everything, yeah, everything else has been pretty good. Like all the other 100 and whatever episodes have been great. But you see people like leave and they're, you know, some people are just like, fuck, I can't remember the last time I just sat with someone and
Doesn't
talked
happen.
for 2 hours or 3 hours and wasn't digitally distracted.
Yeah. Eh, our attention is being fought for every second of every day. And
Choose fine dining. Choose fine dining over fast food every time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And what's interesting is you mentioned at the beginning of this, when we were wrapping thing if when we're geez, we're wrapping things up, that where people can find you, or what your socials are, blah blah blah.
Mm.
Just so you know, I don't have any social media.
You're my hero.
Everyone says that. Everyone pats me on the back. They're like, that must be so good for you, and it is. But people can't find me. People can't, you know, keep up to date with things I'm doing. So I'm kind of hamstrung in that sense.
Mhm.
But what I will say is, I have noticed in the last year or two, since not being on anything, like I've never had an Instagram. I've never had a TikTok. Um, I had a Twitter when I was like in middle school, but I got rid of that. So
Mm.
anyhow, what I've noticed is it's like I'm looking around and it feels like I'm incrementally like getting better, having more attention span, like bandwidth than the rest of society.
Your brain is healthy.
But it's not that I'm getting better. It's that everyone else is being limited by these things.
Yeah.
And it feels dystopian. It feels fucking weird that I somehow am on the out group of what's happening. And
I see the script already. Let's do a short. You're the lead.
it's almost like Idiocracy. You know that movie
A fucking great movie.
where everyone just becomes stupid?
Yeah.
The average person is just somehow leagues ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
If you transport them in the future, that's what it almost feels like we're headed that way. And the weird thing is I know social media is bad for my mental health, me personally. I know it doesn't do anything good for me.
Mhm.
And I know I'm much happier and I can have better connections with people because I'm not on it. But the fear of missing out of what's happening, or the fear of I could be promoting myself using these tools and it could take me to where I want to be in my life. I think about I grapple with those things all the time. And there's this have you ever read The 48 Laws of Power?
No.
Robert Greene. Do you know what that book is?
No, it sounds great though. Walk me through it.
It's it's a weird, like almost like red pill-esque community of, I don't know. Rob This book called The 48 Laws of Power has all these 48 laws that prescribe what you should do and how power works and all the different dynamics of power. But
Mm.
in the margins of this book are all of these allegories and like short fables and stuff that relate to whatever law Robert Greene is writing about and talking about. And there's this one that really stuck with me that pertains to the social media thing we're talking about that I think about a lot. And it's this short little allegory, and
One of his 48 laws.
it's inside one of the 48 laws. There's like there'll be short stories or things in the margins of this book that kind of allude to whatever he's talking about in that law. And I can't remember which law this one pertained to, but anyhow, the allegory was there was a teacher of Moses came to this town and told this whole town that the water supply in however many days time, if you drank it, it was going to turn you crazy. And no one listened to him except this one guy. This one guy's like, oh shit. So he starts stockpiling all of this water, the clean, safe water. He hides it away. The day comes when the water stops, and he's like, shit, it's happening. This teacher was right. He goes back to his hideaway, he's drinking his water, his safe water. Meanwhile, everyone else in the town drinks the newly flowing water
Mhm.
that is turning them mad.
Sprinkled with LSD, baby.
Yeah. It's the Kool-Aid. Everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And he goes out there and
You're too young for Waco, Texas.
he goes out in this town. He's like, you guys gotta stop drinking this water. It's making you crazy.
Mhm.
Now, at this point, everyone in the town has drunk the water.
Mhm.
And they all think he's crazy
Yeah.
because he's the only one who hasn't. And he's like, you gotta stop, please. No one listens to him. They're like, that guy's crazy.
Mhm.
He eventually is so lonely because he is the only one that isn't affected by this, that he goes and finds says, fuck it. He drinks the water. He becomes crazy. And now everyone treats him like a madman that is now miraculously cured.
Mhm.
And I feel that way with social media, that everyone else has drank the social media water. And I'm like, you guys should stop. This stuff is bad for you. It's doing nothing good for humanity. Yeah, it shows you funny videos. Yeah, you can see what your friends are doing. All this stuff. The whole the whole enterprise, man. It's not gonna bode well for humanity.
Mhm.
But every now and then I'm like, maybe I should just drink the water.
Mm.
Maybe I should promote myself. Maybe I should start a fucking chefing TikTok. Like I think about that all the time because like a lot of people I know that are influencers, they make money. A lot of people I know that want to be actors that are already influencers are getting so many opportunities because shit, you're a producer, you're making something. This person has 100,000 followers.
Mhm.
That is potentially 100,000 people that will come watch this movie if we cast him.
Doesn't mean they can fucking act though.
Acting, your ability to
Mhm.
act seems to be kind of far down on the list of important things you need,
Way far down, way too far down. Yeah.
which, you know,
That's got to be a trend. You know what? Bill fucking Murray, Woody fucking Harrelson, Brad Pitt. Hard to find. No social media.
goes.
Yeah.
There, I mean, and there's people out, but they're already established, They've
But you know what? They didn't. They started like that and they haven't changed.
yeah.
Like Bill Murray's never had an agent. You know, he like people have to send fucking scripts to a PO box.
Wouldn't that be
And
nice?
and then he fucking calls you if he reads it and he likes it. If he doesn't, if you don't hear back from him in a month, he passed on it or whatever. Like, I think especially in acting or in other kind of like high profile situations, I think if you generally are following your heart on where your path is, but that path happens to be a little bit eccentric for the current social norms, I think you're on the right track. And I think you just play it up. Like people ask you, "Oh, what's your Instagram?" I'm like, I don't waste my time on that. I read,
Mysterious.
yeah, like I read books. I don't spend my time scrolling. Like, yeah, like, do you have a TikTok? I'm like, no, I'm fucking reading Shakespeare. Like, I'm a theater actor. Like, I spend my time reading, not watching shit that other people make to distract me. Like, I think there's really a space for that. Like, I used to be on social media all the time. I used to comment on all this stuff and get in arguments with people. And now I just like I go on like twice a week. I now have social media on a totally different phone that I don't use all the time. And I'm like, okay, here's a podcast, tag everyone, post it, never look at the comments. Oh, here's my next podcast, post it, tag everyone, never look at the comments. And I'm just trying to like wean myself way back from the void just because that's not where I want to spend my time. I want to spend my time like talking to people like yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you notice that about yourself and you set in,
I was just getting dumber. I was getting more dumb.
democracy.
Yeah.
It's hamstringing people.
Yeah.
It's taking away a lot of things that, you know, all the content is going to be 5-second shorts pretty soon, man.
Yeah.
All this short form content.
But again, I think there will be that fine dining option on the menu.
I love that. The
Yeah.
fine dining option.
And you just got to charge for the premium and see who comes, because it's not going to be for everyone, but for people who recognize the garbage of what's going on,
Yeah.
they're going to appreciate it.
There'll be hopefully an enlightenment of our era where everyone's like, no, we only want to associate with people that can sit through this sort of thing, like that can actually handle this long form content because we actually have the attention to sit through it. I like that.
It's not going to be mainstream. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think we all got used to movies being mainstream, and I think maybe like 90-minute, 2-hour movies in the future are going to be just for the 1%ers, and everyone else is just going to be mindlessly scrolling on and watching like 1-minute videos. Like, I really believe that. Even podcasts, like, I think anyone who talks for more than 30 minutes on a podcast and tries to get to know someone with a complex, beautiful trajectory of a career and a background like yourself, like if we had a 30-minute conversation, we wouldn't get anywhere. But if anyone wants to sit down and listen to 2 hours or 2.5 hours of you and I talking, they're going to get something out of it. Because I mean, like, your story, I think about how many kids there are out there, or how many parents there are out there who have kids that live in a remote kind of town and have all this kind of energy and this theatrical desire to go out and do stuff, and they don't know what to do with their kids. But you've had this story, and your parents tried to navigate as best they could, and you took steps to pursue your passion. Like, I just think there's so many learning experiences when you actually can settle your mind and engage and absorb with long form content.
Yeah, and there is hope. Like,
There's hope. I don't know.
I think there is like a lot of, like you mentioned earlier, like Joe Rogan's podcast, for example, those are long as hell, and there's still plenty of people that are vying into that content, regardless of what you think about that content. I mean, the people are sitting through those things, and so
Well, I'm at the
uh,
point now. I'm at the point now where I don't read the news, because it's garbage, and I try to stay off social media as much as I can because it's garbage. So what I do is I have like 4 or 5 podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis that are long form. Um, Rogan being one of them. I'm a big fan. A lot of people aren't. I don't care. But if I want to know something about what's going on in entertainment, then I'll wait for an actor or a director or producer to come onto one of those long form podcasts, and I'll listen to that person and I'll be like, okay, that's what's happening in entertainment these days.
yeah.
And if it's like, okay, if I want to know about what's going on in the FBI or in the CIA or in international politics, I'll wait for a guest to come on, and then I'll sit. And I'm almost at the point now where I won't listen to anyone talk about anything unless they can do it for 2 hours or more
And yeah, really explain their position and
with
yeah,
no editing. Like,
not on traditional media.
yeah, because you know, when you listen to sound bites on CNN or Fox News or even on YouTube, you know, and you're just getting bits and pieces, it's all being edited to be the worst thing it could possibly be.
Fit some sort of narrative.
Exactly, or agenda, even worse. But if I can sit down and listen to someone speak elegantly, you know, for 2 or 3 hours about a topic that they love, that's how I prefer to get some kind of assessment of where the world is or where that industry is
Yeah.
or what's going on, because the second you dip yourself back into that fast food world, your brain is fucking done.
Yeah, and that's I mean, as far as where I get my news from and things like that, I've kind of felt like if anything is that important, someone near me is going to talk to me about it,
Mhm.
and then
You can always text me. I'll try to let you know.
okay. Give me a weekend update, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get back to rural Oregon. Shit is going down.
I'll see you in the mountains.
Yeah, I'm coming.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's wild. No, but I would play up the I would play up the eccentric no
The
social media.
mystique.
Yeah, because I think that just shows how dedicated you are to your craft and how you're not interested in any kind of short-termism.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like selling out in the sense of if I was doing that kind of content creation-esque stuff, like I don't know. I don't wanna sound like I'm on a soapbox, but I just that's never why I wanted to get into to performing and
Yeah.
acting. I never wanted to make stuff like that, and
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I had a young filmmaker on the show, like a year and a half ago or something like that. And really sweet kid, came out of USC filmmaking school. You know, I was introduced to him from a friend, he really wanted to come on. And all his friends would be like, "Oh man, you got to use your filmmaking skills to, like, you know, make like 30-second videos on Instagram and stuff like that." And I'm like, and I sat down and I talked to him. I'm like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And he's like, "I want to make films." I'm like, "You want to make feature films? You want to make long form? You want to tell long form stories?" He's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Okay, so budget's obviously an issue. So what can you do to work your way up to that?" And he's like, "Oh, I can make shorts." And I'm like, "Perfect." So instead of making fucking 30-second videos on Instagram or TikTok, why don't you tell a 5 or a 10-minute story on a limited budget? Get a few friends like we all did when we were in school, and really put together something, and then put it out on YouTube, or just share it with people in the industry that you meet, or people in the industry that you know. You don't even have to promote it. As long as you've got it and you can start to share it with people as your career progresses or as you meet new people, then you're kind of doing what you want to do. But if you're using all this time and energy to feed this social media beast, you're not really progressing your career or going in the direction that you want. And I really believe, and I don't care anymore anyways, but I really believe that any producer or casting director or director that asks you how many social media followers you have is doing the entire industry a disservice.
yeah, that is another school of thought. It's that the actual people that you wanna work with don't care about those things.
Yeah.
It's just but
There's this actor, there's this actress, she's fantastic. What's her name? Ellie Fanning. She's super famous. She's like in her 20s. She's been acting since she was like 5 years old. And she had a great line the other day. And people were like, "Oh, like, how come you don't post things on social media. I don't get it. Like, I don't get social media. Like, I've been acting since I was 5 years old. I know how to act. I know how to be on set. I know how to learn my lines. I know how to work with other actors. I know how to listen to directors. Like, I know how to be an actor.
Yeah.
I don't get that world, and I don't want to get it.
Yeah.
And here she is, like 25, and she's getting passed up for roles. I think she's been nominated for an Oscar. She's getting passed up for roles by social media influencers. That's fucking sick.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Don't give in. So you know what? At some stage, because you are on your own path, at some stage, it could be today, it could be in your 30s, it could be in your 40s. Like Morgan Freeman didn't get his first fucking real crack till he was like almost 50, driving Miss Daisy, right? But I'm just saying, like, you stick to your path and people will respect it.
Catch me in 30 years when I finally get a job.
You know what though? I mean, and then from 50 something to 80, you could have the greatest fucking career of all time. And will it have been worth it? Maybe, because you toiled so much.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's always funny. Like, people have so much like short-termism.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if you stick to your guns and ignore everyone, I always feel like you're going to be better off.
Yeah. And I'll feel more comfortable with myself because I didn't compromise, my integrity by doing things that I didn't want to do. And it's already happened since I've moved out here is agents or directors like wanting me to do things that I don't want to do or I don't believe in. And you don't get any sort of fucking reward in the immediate sense for sticking up for yourself.
No.
You don't get a trophy, you don't get nothing. You get hostility, you get why won't you do what I want you to do?
But they're the wrong people.
They are. And that is a really big lesson I had to learn is that you have to look out for yourself
Yeah.
because no one else is going to. Everyone else has their own agenda and their own, goals that they're trying to reach. And, you need to take care of yourself and you need to listen to your gut ultimately.
I think the best thing for people that want to stay off social media and also be in the performing arts, I think the best thing people can do is share their art or share their craft on YouTube. And I know that YouTube is kind of social media, but it can be long form enough where you're allowed to express yourself fully.
Yeah.
So like I've always thought, like, if there's an actor out there that doesn't want to fucking post TikTok videos of himself dancing or herself dancing, or something fucking stupid like that, then why not do like a monologue series and make yourself a YouTube channel, find 12 monologues that you fucking love, that you just want to nail, and put out one a month for a year and put them up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And use them when you do casting, use them when you meet people, use them for public feedback as well. Like, that can be your path. But YouTube is such a different way to share your work than all these other fast food. Like, I almost feel like YouTube is starting to be, I know they've got shorts and all this other bullshit, but YouTube is almost like the fine dining of the social media world. And I always feel like it'd be nice to see people who are really serious about their craft that don't want to be caught up in this TikTok fucking era.
Yeah.
Still doing like long form, really meaningful stuff. But and again, like, you can put it up there. You don't have to have edits and stuff like that. And you can really let it play out and show people why you're head and shoulders above everyone else doing fucking TikTok dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's honestly where my mind has been lately is it's been turning more towards making my own stuff and learning how to write and getting together with these people that I've been meeting through my acting classes and other industry people that I enjoy, that are good at what they do, that are also as serious as I am, to start creating my own stuff. So that is a big goal for this next year and subsequent years,
Yeah.
is to turn my focus a little more inward on creating my own stuff. So I'm excited to start exploring that. I'm kind of done waiting and sitting around for the phone to ring.
Also, you're way too young. Like, think about it too. Like, think about all the people who are doing the same, like, scene stuff that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And like Delara and her sister, like eventually the people you work with are going to also elevate, and the people you're friends with are also going to elevate. And as they elevate and as they have work, and some of them might direct, some of them might write. So they're going to need actors.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I had this agent tell me one time, it's like, oh, it's like your television shows are fucking great and you make all this stuff, but he's like, you're making it in a vacuum. Like you're making all this great stuff and it might be on BBC or Discovery Channel, but you need to have more of your friends in it, or you need to have some celebrities in it or something like that. And I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. But he was basically saying like, I don't have enough friends in the industry to incorporate into what I'm doing, to take what I'm doing like up to the next level. That was his perspective. I didn't really go for it, but in acting you can kind of see it. Like if you're all in your 20s and you're kind of out of work and you're trying to do other things,
Yeah.
eventually everyone's going to start to get opportunities if you stick together. And then as everyone starts to get opportunities, they'll start casting their friends who they've been working with for a decade, and they know
well, yeah. And they have seen the level they can perform at. Yeah, totally.
because at the end of the day, like if you go out into the world and you need to make a movie in 30 days and you're on a tight budget, you want to work with people who you know you can work with. And if you've been doing scenes once a week or once a month with the same group of people for the last fucking 10 years, they know they can count on you. They know that they're, and I think half of what it means to get work in this town is knowing that you're going to fucking show up and nail it every day for 30 straight days. And I think that is even beyond like talent.
The consistency that you can show,
Yeah.
the dependability, just like things that you don't have to, that can't really be taught necessarily.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, those sorts of intangibles I think are really important. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people that I have worked with and studied with, like if I have projects that I'm creating, I am already thinking of these people that I know that are in my circle to do certain things. So I'm like, oh, they'd be good at that. They'd be good at this. And it's all because of my connection with them through the class that I'm in.
Yeah. And when you got to make a film on a budget, or you want to direct something for yourself, or you want to, or someone else is directing and everyone needs to get together on a really low budget to help out one of the team or one of the friends or one of the group, people do that, right? So, and that's how people get started. Like, and I just feel like that starts to happen. So I really feel like that community that you build your first few years here in LA, I think it's great. And I've done the same thing. Like the people I have on my podcast, like I'm creating like a little community of like-minded people, like they're actors and musicians and whatever, but we all kind of stay in touch, and people are really sweet, and I see people liking and commenting on other podcasts when they were a previous guest. And when they have a new project they want to come back and talk about, like I'm all for it. So like, again, it's just like trying to build this like-minded community. And then as people rise up, they need other people they can trust to help them with that ascension. Right. And I think that's really the exciting part.
Have you enjoyed doing this, you think, more than some of your previous projects, or where does this fit into?
So that's a good question. I feel like I fell into this out of some version of mental health necessity.
Needed to connect with people.
I needed to have some, so you have to understand my previous life, right? So like, let's say that, I feel like my life or my professional career has had 3 stages. So Ryan 1.0 was a photojournalist running around China with Time, Newsweek, Forbes, New York Times, etc. I did that for 10 years. Loved it, won a bunch of awards, got to tell stories about China, was living in Shanghai. Dream come true.
Awesome.
Yeah. In my 20s, I was the fucking best. Then Ryan 2.0 was television career, adventuring all around the world. And the peak of that was 2019. So 2019, we did 10 episodes in 10 countries in 10 months. So, and when we do an episode, each episode is really like a 10 to 14 day shoot. And we go out into the middle of nowhere and we walk like 100 miles or 150 miles across a desert, or we climb a mountain or whatever. So it's like really, really intense. But we did 10 of those in 10 months. And on top of that, I did 40 something speaking events in that same year. So I was on the road 270, 280 days out of that year. So that was like peak me. But actually, I've never been happier. Like I loved it. I love being on. I love storytelling. I love making stuff that people get a chance to watch and enjoy. I love showing people different parts of the world. I love meeting people there, getting that kind of learning what that life is like in that other part of the world. And then the speaking events help me personify that experience, on stage. And I love being on stage. I love being in front of a live audience. It's because there's so many fuck ups. There's so many hilarities that go on filming. Like everyone loves the behind the scenes stories. So I love all that. So then in 2020, it all disappeared. So I was like, well, how do I tell stories with people? How do I bring all this international experience that I've had, from all around the world? And then I thought, like, okay, I've never lived in North America really as an adult. Like, I left when I was 22. When I finished university, I've lived in China, the UAE, Switzerland, but now is a chance to like come back maybe to North America and see what all this global experience has led me to.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'm going to move to LA. I don't know anyone in LA. So how do I meet people in LA? Okay, well, I have an interesting background. I've done some cool things. I'll have a podcast, and hopefully my background and the things I've made previously will help get people through the door.
Yeah. So all the people that you've had on here have been just recommendations from other people
No, it
you've
was a
met there?
nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. At the beginning, it was so hard because I didn't have any friends. Like normally you just like I have 2 or 3 friends in LA, and they were like my first 5 like 3 of my first 5 guests were my best, like my friends here that I'd worked with on other productions and things like that. But it was so hard to get people in through the door. There was like a website, like a podcastguests.com. Like I was trying to find people on there that were in LA, but now now it's fine. Like I have PR agencies that bring me actors that are working on projects and writers and who are authors who have prepared books, and then friends of friends and friends of people who have been on the podcast. So now it's no problem. I have a full schedule, but fuck, getting your first like 20 guests
Yeah.
was so hard. But then once people see it and they get a hang of it, and they know that they know that you get to give people like a chance to answer questions, and people just get to chat and be themselves, then it's quite nice. And a lot of people have said like there's not a lot of podcasts like this in LA where people can put their hair down and just be themselves.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you. It felt kind of strange. I was like, someone would be interested just to hear just the basic stuff about me, and
This is the best.
coming here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you know what, like someone who's young who's trying to find their way and make it is way more of an interesting story than speaking to someone who's already made it and has forgotten everything you're going through now.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that if I interview like a famous actor, I'll get more views on the podcast, but it'll be fucking shit boring. Like the people who come on the podcast and they just want to talk about their book,
Yeah.
like their one book, and they don't want to talk about their past, or they don't want to talk about their history. They don't want to talk about their trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
It's just a one note. Like there's no jazz, there's no music, there's no back and forth. Like you don't get much from it. So I really enjoy like having people that want to come and just be open.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if you've accomplished anything or not, or you graduated or you didn't, or you've been in anything or you didn't. Like it's just, let's talk about the process.
Yeah.
Like it's about the journey, not the destination.
Wise words, Ryan.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Because you never know what's going to happen, but you still got to fucking put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Are you going to fucking just stick it out and be an actor and make people bend to your way of doing it? Or are you going to, or do you see yourself maybe trying something else? Because so here's one example, right?
Yeah.
I had this lovely guy on the podcast who was like one of my first guests, a friend of a friend, didn't know anything about him. He came from Denver. Okay. Really sweet kid, much younger than me. And he came here to be an actor. And he was lucky. He's lucky and talented, and he got a few jobs right away, and he was making some stuff, and he was a waiter on the side. And even though he was successful and he did a few jobs, the time between the jobs was killing him. Cause he's like, I have this tool, like I want to use it.
Yeah.
I want to act. Like I want to do it all the time. I don't want to do it once every 6 months or once every year whenever I get cast for something. So he started doing social media stuff as a way of like exercising that tool. And again, he does TikTok and YouTube and stuff like this. But for him, going into social media was exercising the same tool as his acting. And I know that's not the same for everyone, but he managed to get satisfaction as a creative from making YouTube videos and TikTok videos and stuff like that. So he was able to exercise that desire through social media. And now he makes a great living. He doesn't even do acting anymore, but he feels fulfilled every day. So I love that story as one way to go. Yeah. But other people who don't want to do that or die hard, on acting or dying, then that doesn't work. But it's just nice to know that there's an example out there of someone who made that transition.
Yeah. So I think about this question a lot.
Mhm.
My parents ask me the question a lot.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time. I still have some time left in me to keep pushing and pursuing what I'm doing here. Uh, like I said, every now and then I think about drinking that water and turning myself crazy like everyone else. But the time being, that's not where I see my future at.
Your
I,
heart's not in it. I can tell it right now.
it's not, dude. And
And the audience will know.
you ask anyone that knows me well,
Mm,
me trying to work up the energy to do something I don't want to do is it takes every bit of me
yeah.
to do something I don't want to do. And I've
And then it
always
won't be
been that
good.
way.
It won't be good.
And I don't want people to watch me do something I don't have my heart in, you
Yeah.
know? And so I don't know. The the future involves me probably leaving Los Angeles.
Mm.
I don't people always give me shit when I say this. I don't like LA that much.
No,
There's a lot of good things about it.
I don't like it either, actually, to be honest.
Dude, I said this at a party over the holidays, and it looked like I just ran over someone's dog. Someone was like, "Well, why are you here then?"
Well, it's sunny every day, but the city is a dumpster fire.
There's just it's when you were born and raised in Montana, everywhere kind of looks like a dumpster fire. I'd be like, honestly, but I don't know. I don't know where life is going to take me. There are things that I want outside of acting. I'd love to own a home. Is that going to happen? Tune in. We don't know.
Wait till you're 50.
Coin op laundry for the rest of my life? Maybe. Who knows? I want children.
Mm.
I'd like to get married. Um, those are things that I don't know if they can live, in congruence with acting. Who knows? Don't know. I'm trying to make that happen. That would be Disney dream ending. That's what would happen
Actor with a family.
with a family. Yeah.
An actor who can support his family.
Let's not get too greedy here. Let's not get too greedy.
Yeah.
I do know people that have done that.
Mm.
I have flirted with the idea of packing my bags and just auditioning and working at regional theaters all around the country. I know plenty of people that do that and can make a living, and they're working actors,
Mhm.
and that is tantalizing.
Would you try Broadway? Like, is like moving to New York and trying to be in the theater there? Is that a thing that people might want to do?
I've had people ask that of me. They're like, "Why don't you go do that?"
Yeah.
But I don't. It feels like that would be a whole new. I don't know, starting over again. I'd have to pick up everything and start over again in a new place that I don't know a whole lot about. I actually went to New York for the first time this last year.
How was it?
I was expecting myself not to like it,
Hmm.
and I loved it.
Yeah, the
I thought
energy
it was
there is pretty special.
I thought it was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And the ease of, like, being able to get around, like, using the subway system and just exploring all of, Manhattan, what we could in the short time we were there. I really liked it.
Mhm.
I don't who kn I could it would be so frustrating to move and go through all of that cross country just to be in a similar position where I couldn't get work. I don't know, and maybe that's just, like, the fear
Yeah.
talking, like, or I don't believe in myself enough. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
Imposter syndrome.
holy shit, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real thing.
Yeah. I had, I don't mean to make this about me, but like I moved to China when I was 22 and I didn't know anyone there and I didn't speak Chinese. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. Cause it was total imposter syndrome. Like I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? And then I just had to use all the tools to kind of figure it out. And I was able to find new paths and new directions that never would have occurred to me. So I and it was because like I was living in Toronto and I had just graduated and I was feeling like I was feeling stuck and I looked around me and I didn't see anyone around me that inspired me. Like I was working for a few different companies and I had met a lot of people and there was no one around me that I was in constant contact with who I was like, fuck, I want to do what that person does. Or not even, I want to have the lifestyle that that person does. There wasn't even anything like that. So I was just like, I'm going to go do something totally different for a little
Why
while.
China?
Just totally different. Like I mean, there's a deeper reason to it. So in my second year of university, so I played basketball in university, Division I in Canada, which is kind of equivalent to Division II here. So we played Friday, Saturday every week. So you don't want to have classes on Friday. So you have to load up your classes in the first 4 days. And anyways, in order to do that, I had one slot on Tuesday that I needed to get a class into, and the only class that was available on that slot, Introduction to Modern China. Took a class about China, loved it, thought, holy shit, this is a wild country. Like, I didn't know half of the stuff about China that I learned. Took another class about China. And then when I graduated, I was just like, well, there's nothing. I literally felt like Canada had nothing for me. Right or wrong, arrogant, immature, impatient, no idea. But I just went to China. I'm like, whatever I decide to do, I'm going to just do it not in Canada. And then I haven't been back. Like I left, I go back for holidays and see family, but I never went back to live.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't know that I would be okay. I didn't know what I would do, but I knew I had some skills and I knew that I was smart or I could figure shit out. But yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to like extract yourself out and put yourself somewhere else so that you can see things more clearly. And I think like LA is a bit of a bubble of shit, of shittiness. And when you get caught too much in the bubble, all you see is the shit around you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you pull yourself out of that, like it can be epic. Like have you ever thought about going to London and doing theater? Like an American in London, like maybe there would be work. Like you could get a visa to go there. I can show you how to do that. They have visas for talent. They have a talent visa. Like I'm here in the US on a talent visa. So they have similar visas like that for the UK. And you know, you could fucking take a boat there and make a trip out of it. And
Never thought of that.
yeah, and work in the West End. Like, because my buddy Paul, who was on the podcast, he worked in the West End for years and loved it. But you know, eventually he kind of aged out of it because I think he's in his 50s now or late 40s, a little bit like me. And he was doing Dirty Dancing. He was doing all these like really intense physical performances. And I think he kind of just moved on from that. And I think his wife is based here now too. So that was why he came over here. But again, like, you know, in the English speaking world, there's a ton of opportunity to be in the English speaking world anywhere and not in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I get kind of locked into like a doom mindset of like my time's running out. It's all over.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
29 times running. Well, when you get close to 30, you start to feel that.
Yes, I know. And
Yeah.
30's right around the corner. And I'm like, my life is set in stone. I can't make any more adjustments. But I know that's bullshit. That's just a figment of my imagination. But
Yeah. Travel changes you too.
yeah.
Like I think like I'm a big proponent of this. Like if you feel stuck or you feel like you're not getting, if you feel like in your current existence, you're not getting the responses that you want from people, then just, I'm a big fan of just getting up and leaving. Like, and I've done that everywhere. And I feel like it's really suited me. And then eventually I find the place where what I'm doing gets the responses I want. So there's two paths, right? It's either like you keep doing the same fucking thing for 30 years and then you see if you get a break.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh yeah, you really grinded it out, you made it happen and blah, 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 blah. But then now it's like, well, if you want to be an entertainer, you don't have to be in LA. In fact, most of them aren't anymore. Like films are being made all over the world. Like how can I do what I want to do, but get a different response from people? And the other thing too, I was chatting with somebody about this the other day. In LA, everyone here wants to be famous and in the entertainment industry. So everyone has this like, fuck you facade. So you can't even get through to people and have like a real creative conversation half the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes if you take yourself out of this hyper competitive, hyper defensive environment, you might be able to be in a place where you can pursue your craft and share your gift, like in the way that you can't do here because people are just so fuck you right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could you do for me?
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I went to a premiere the other night. I was at CAA in Century City for a film, and the actors were there and the directors were there. It was like a lovely evening. Michael Keaton was there. It was fucking cool. And then afterwards, like there was a fucking drinks thing, and I was just walking around, and I'm not an actor. I'm not a director. I produce TV, but like that's not my world, right?
Yeah.
But I just wanted to chat with people and like meet a few people and see who was there. I went up to tables and started chatting with people, and the fuck you-ness that came through the eyes before I even said my first word was just so disgusting. And I'm like, I'm not even in this business. Like, you know, you want to tell me about your last movie, I'm going to tell you about the last mountain I climbed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to like tell you, I'm not here to like show you headshots.
Yeah.
But the impression is that like, I'm here to take your work, or I'm here take some business from you. And it was just a fuck you from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you, you can't even have a conversation with someone like that.
Then you leave LA and no one's like that.
Yeah.
You do a little bit of traveling and people are much friendlier outside of Los Angeles.
New York is worse.
Yeah, but I feel like you kind of expect that.
Kind of expect it. But the rest of the world can be amazing, and with so many films being made out of the UK and out of like places like Hungary, the Czech Republic, like all these places, like people are making movies everywhere. And if you have the skills, then there's opportunities. But again too, like maybe you're in a great community here, and as everyone rises up, you all rise up together. Maybe that's a thing too. It's hard being young if you understand all the choices you have, because it's hard to like pick a path and actually stick to it.
Yeah. Overwhelmed by options, man.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like sometimes.
Epic. Well, look, I mean, is there anything we didn't talk about that you might want to, any questions for me? You said you might want to have a question for me or two.
So you started out as a photographer. What got you into that? Like I love photography. I don't do it right now, but I had a stint where I was really into film photography and like printing my own stuff, developing my own film.
Beautiful.
Have you done anything like that? Tell me about your photography life.
So like I said, like I was just a fucking basketball meathead.
Yeah.
From
Yeah, you said you were a D2 or D1 athlete in Canada. How do you go from that to taking pictures?
So I wasn't good enough to play professionally.
And does Canada have a professional basketball?
Well, we got the Toronto Raptors, but actually I graduated before the Toronto Raptors were a thing. Or maybe no, I graduated. The Raptors were there because we used to practice together sometimes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like sometimes when the guys would get hurt, they would come and practice with us. So like sometimes if like Tracy McGrady or like these old names from the way back in the day, like Doug Christie, Ron Mercer, like when these guys would get like twist their ankle and have to take like a week off before they would go back to practicing with the team, they would come and practice with us. And that was cool. And we got to play at the place where they had their games and things like that. So that was fun. But I was just a basketball meathead from like the age of 6 to 22. So I had like no hobbies. No desires, no interest in anything else. And then it was funny because then when my career ended, a couple guys I knew, they went to play in like New Zealand, and one guy went to Denmark, and I was like, no, I don't want to fucking play abroad. Like I want to start a next chapter of my life.
And you go abroad.
But I went abroad, but not to play.
Yeah.
And then, so then I went abroad, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to China. But when I went to China, I didn't go to live there right away. First, I went to just check it out. But I did like a 3-month trip by train and by bus all around China.
Oh, wow.
And actually, it was that trip that I decided that I wanted to write and be a photographer. Because I was
on
seeing...
a whim. So no photography experience?
Nothing, no.
That's insane.
I was so inspired by my environment.
Yeah.
And by what I was seeing and the people I was meeting and the stories that I was learning. And I didn't see anything like what I was seeing or what I was learning in any other mainstream media. So I was just like, I'm going to live in China and tell stories about China. And then I was like, okay, how do I do that? So then I went home for like 2 weeks for Christmas. And then I said, fuck it, I'm leaving again, which was very popular. Whole family was against it. And then I moved back to China, and then I taught English part-time to pay the rent. And then I was just using all my money that I was making, all the extra money, to just go out and buy film and tell stories about Shanghai, which is where I was living, where I was going further into the country to tell stories and take pictures. And I started doing some good work. And then I started working for Time, Newsweek, Forbes, Fortune, New York Times. And I was like the China guy for like a decade.
That's awesome.
But it just came out of a love for wanting to tell stories about where I was. And if I had never left Canada, I would have never picked up a camera.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. And then the financial crisis happened in 2008 when Lehman Brothers collapsed. And of course, we had the housing crisis, and a couple banks failed. But one of the smaller side effects of that no one talks about is the print media died. And the print media died because the classified ads had gone online. So the classified ads, like if you wanted to sell a fucking car back in 1990, there was no Craigslist or Facebook or whatever, right? Like you had to put it
paper. Oh yeah.
Pay $100 and put it in the New York Times, and then you sell your fucking car, right? So, and all that was gone, and they hadn't transitioned into any kind of digital model yet. So my salary, just for very simple purposes, let's say my salary was $100 a day. It went from being like $100 a day to like $20 a day within a span of 18 months. And then I was like, how do you reduce salaries by 80% and still like make a living? So that was when I decided to move into television because it wasn't feasible anymore.
That's wild. That's just like from 0 to 100, it seems like. From Canada, I'm going to China.
Yeah.
This is wild.
It was about 2 years before I started like it was like cuz I could teach English, I could pay the rent.
Yeah.
But then it was about 2 years until like I wasn't teaching part-time English at all and I was making 100% of my income from what I wanted to do. But it took like 2 years. So it wasn't like this it wasn't the smoothest thing, but like I answer emails on time, I show up on time, I
Yeah.
do the work on time, like I'm easy to reach, I'm easy to get a hold of. I respond, you know, like I tried to do all like the business basics
Yeah.
well so that people would try to work with me and then eventually I think my talent caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool.
But I think like this is this is an era and a time where, we can think outside the box and try to do things globally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You're right.
oh man, sorry about that. But going abroad was way better for me because it just put me in a better headspace.
Yeah.
Because there's a rat race in North America that I think is really toxic. In Europe, you don't get it so much. Like Europeans, they fucking know how to take holidays.
Really.
They work hard and then they take a fucking month off in the summer and then they take a couple months off here. And when they go on vacation, they really go on vacation.
Yeah.
Like there's like a rat race and a grind here in North America. And I think it works for the 1% because they're all billionaires. But the rest of us who are like, we're just dying slowly.
I could take a month off, man.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. So.
So nice. South of France
Ooh, come on.
in July or August is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing, man. I'm really excited. Like, I really hope that you come back on a regular and we can just kind of catch up with where you are and what's going on.
Yeah, I would love to, man.
Yeah.
If anything develops this year, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can come see something I made.
Yeah, that'd be great. And like there's still a lot of theater being done in LA.
I don't know about it, but people always tell me that. They're like, you could work as a theater artist in LA.
You can. I mean, I can. So I'll send you some links of some people I had on the podcast who are actually working theater,
Okay. I love that.
who produce their own plays and stuff like that. And maybe you can reach out to them and you can when this comes out, you can say, hey, I was also on Ryan's podcast. He introduced you. It'd be great.
That'd be fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we got to help out each other and people listen to this and maybe reach out to you directly. Do you got a website at least?
I do not have a website.
Okay.
You better email me if you want to get a hold of me. It's CoreyRenfree@gmail.com.
Corey Renfree at Gmail. How do you spell Renfree?
RENFREE. Renfree.
And is it Corey with one R?
COREY
There you go.
@gmail.com. I might have to change emails if it gets blown up too much, but no, that's the only way to reach me right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Take pride in that. I think that's it. I think, not being available all the time to all people allows you to focus on your craft. And like you said, everyone around us is getting dumber, and you're gonna be able to leave the herd soon.
if I just remain where I am, just remain average, everyone else will fall below me, and I will rise in the ranks.
I think there's something to that. I think like I really think that society is just on a fucking free for all or
Everyone's gonna be
free
like,
fall.
Corey, how do you have such focus? I'm like, I do. I just don't have TikTok.
Yeah. Like it's funny. Like you ask people around town, like, what's the last book they read, and they're like, oh.
Yeah,
No.
that is bleak.
It is. I saw there's a great interview with Bradley Cooper on Rogan, and he was saying that he's not on social media.
Yeah.
And he was saying like he picked up his phone the other day and he clicked a link and accidentally ended up on TikTok, and he was on the couch and he was supposed to like reply to an email, but he ended up on TikTok, and then he said he just scrolled on TikTok for like 40 minutes, like watching all these videos, and then after he's like, holy shit, I just blew fucking 40 minutes. He's like, I gotta block all this shit because he's like, this is not the way to be a creative.
Yeah, the people that originally made the casinos helped people make algorithms for social media because it's like mainlining adrenaline, man.
Yeah, we got to get off that.
We do.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say? Because we've been crushing it. We're like 2 hours and 40 minutes into this.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just down there, the time
Flies, man.
when you're having fun.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing else to say.
All right. Well, look, I'll put your email address out when this goes out, and
Cool.
and yeah, man, keep fighting the good fight and stay true to your art. And thanks for coming on, and I hope we can get you back anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. Till next time. Let's do this again.
Till next time. Thanks, guys, for watching.